Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto banished and refuses to return part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Within Fire Country. Deep within one of the many forests of the Fire Country, bodies of bandits laid strewn across the ground with a few hanging on branches. They weren't even twitching, all of them were dead, killed in different ways each: sword slashes, broken necks along with other broken body parts, burned alive, drowned, slashed in multiple places, or stabbed. These bodies were once missing men who had originally tried to kill their target for the large bounty on the target's head. But instead they were the ones who were killed. The killer of these men, who was still fighting some remaining bandits, was a young man who looked like he was in his late teens or early 20s. He stood about 171 centimeters in height, and had tan skin with no signs of baby fat whatsoever, merely lean muscle. His hair was a short, spiky red color, but a red-colored kitsune mask that had blue-colored designs covered his face, thus denying people the chance to see his true identity. The clothing he wore consisted of a long black cloak with long sleeves, a hood attached, and red stripes going over the sleeves, including around the wrist collars, down the cloak's edges, and the back as well as the hood too. At the center of the cloak's back was a large red whirlpool symbol. Underneath that was a long-sleeved blue shirt and mesh shirt under the former. Black fingerless gloves covered his hands and dark crimson bracers were strapped around his forearms. Over his legs were black pants, while he had blue sandals on his feet. In the man's right hand was a katana that instead of silver had a red blade, which was attached to a black and red striped handle with a round black guard. The blood on the blade blended in easily with it every time the man struck someone down. As he struck down another one, the leader, a missing nin, decided to use ninjutsu instead of trying to charge in blindly. Acting quickly, the ninja formed several hand seals. Katan, Great Fireball Jutsu, and unleashed a large fireball straight towards the redhead man. Said man did nothing as the fireball consumed him in an inferno of death. The missing nin watched the scene with relief as his attack burned the spot where the redhead man stood. That was until he briefly saw something pass by him, and then nothing but darkness. The kitsune masked man watched, left hand raised with a double-bladed edge ninjato in it, and blood on it, as the missing nin's head fell off from its body towards the ground, followed by said body soon after. With all of them dead, the masked man cleaned the blood off of the ninjato, but not the red-bladed katana, before sealing them away and began making his way towards the border. But just as he made a turn, he paused and a second later thrust his left hand out with speed that a few could keep up. The hand grabbed something and the kitsune man looked at it. He saw it was a bug, or to be more precise, a kikeichu, a unique insect used by a clan that the redhead was familiar with. Looking at it for a few seconds, the masked man shifted his gaze to the left, his eyes concentrated on something that he could see. Then he looked back at the bug and with a simple movement, crushed the kikeichu. Once done, redhead released its remains and then disappeared from the area. Shino Abirame, a Jonin rank shinobi of Konohagakure, was staying perfectly still behind the tree he was using as a cover. While upset and angry of one of his bug's death, he knew that logically he would be no match for the kitsune masked man due to the high chakra he was given off. Furthermore, the kikeichu had not died in vain, because while the masked man was focused on that one, another of Shino's insects had managed to acquire some of the man's chakra to confirm his true identity. Even after 6 years and despite drastic changes to his person from what could be seen, the man's chakra remained the same, and Shino confirmed that the kitsune mask-wearing man was indeed Naruto Uzumaki. In all honesty, Shino hadn't even expected to find Naruto. He had been returning from a mission given to him by his clan, to check out a site where rare insects that could use chakra were spotted. The mission had been successful, and Shino began his journey back to Konoha, with a jar of some of the insects. That is when he noticed several chakra signatures a mile or so away from the Abirame. Several of them were at least Chunin level, but one of them was far greater, near Kage level if not greater. Not only that, but it was familiar too, while the weaker chakra signals were disappearing one by one. And so after sending several kikeichu carrying a scroll for the Hokage, Shino rushed off to investigate, and he was indeed right in who it was. The large chakra had belonged to Naruto Uzumaki, a former genin of Konoha banished 6 years ago. After making sure that Naruto was gone, Shino headed back to Konoha to inform the Hokage that his suspicions were correct and that Naruto was still alive and heading towards Wind Country, most likely Sunagakure. He had contemplated about sending some of his insects to track Naruto, but the Abirame went against it. The reason was because it was clear that Naruto would easily detect them the moment they were near him. Thus Shino decided it would be wiser to inform the Hokage right away. Wind Country, Sunagakure. Within the center of the village known as Sunagakure, where the Kazekage's tower was, the Godane Kazekage, Gaara, was currently in his office. Normally, like almost every day, the young Kage would be sitting in his desk doing the bane of all Kage's paperwork. However, today Kami seemed to be on Gaara's side as there was little documents to look over and sign, so the redhead managed to finish up early and was now spending time by sitting cross-legged on the floor with an infant, about a year old, in front of him. The infant, a boy to be precise, was almost an exact replica of Gaara, except instead of reddish-brown hair the child had full brown hair, and while he had the young Kage's green eyes, he didn't have the black rings around his eyes that Gaara possessed, nor the kanji for love written in red on his forehead. The baby, wearing a light brown sleeping suit, was sitting upright on his bum, with a purple baby seat supporting him. The infant was happily playing with the number of toys around him, picking one up, playing with it, and then putting it down and moving on to the next. Now and then the infant would look up towards his father, in which Gaara would give a small smile, in return causing his son to giggle happily and returning his attention on another toy. Gaara heard the door to his office open slightly before closing behind him. But he did not seem to mind, and neither the new occupant in the room, as he knew who it was. "You still haven't learned of knocking even after 6 years, huh, Naruto?" The revealed and unmasked person, Naruto, whose whiskers were now darker, just smirked at his fellow Jinchuriki and good friend. "I wouldn't be me if I did that now, would I?" Then he looked at the baby, who was staring back with a curious look in his eye and a chubby fist rubbing his nose. "Hi Gakuto-chan, how you've been?" Naruto asked kindly. The baby only gurgled before stretching his other arm out towards his father, his eyelids becoming heavy. "Hey, where's Kana-chan?" Naruto asked his friend, who was picking up his sleepy son from the floor. "She is back home with Matsuri and your daughter, whom I'm sure is the reason for your arrival," Gaara said as he used his sand to put everything in his office back in place while at the same time sealed up Gakuto's toys. Matsuri wanted Kana to stay indoors since she seems to be less anxious in seeing the rest of the village than Gakuto is. Naruto shrugged and followed Gaara out. "Well, if you're going home, then I might as well follow you. I have to pick up Kiko-chan and meet Yujin-san at Spring Country since Suna might be getting some unexpected guests in a few days," Naruto said as he followed the Kazekage out of his office. Gaara raised an eyebrow at that before narrowing, understanding the hidden message. "Someone from Konoha saw you." It was not a question. Naruto shrugged. "Yeah, I figured it would be better to head back here and pick up Kiko-chan instead of just waiting for them to give up searching for me." Gaara said nothing at first as they exited the building and headed back towards the young Kazekage's house where his wife, daughter, and his friend's daughter would be waiting for them. While jumping through the roofs, Gaara looked back at Naruto. "You know you could accept my offer of giving you asylum, saying that you're staying here under my protection. Heck, why haven't the other nations or villages that you've saved done the same thing?" the Kazekage commented. Naruto shrugged. "Well, for one, I don't feel like being a burden to my friends, and two, giving me asylum would cause too much political problems with Konoha and most likely Fire Country if I accepted yours or the others' offers," Naruto answered. Gaara gave the redhead a questionable look, blinked and said, "Since when has any of that stopped you?" He deadpanned. Naruto smirked at the comment. "True, but I didn't have someone precious to take care of during those times." Konoha, Hokage Mansion, Hokage Office. Tsunade listened to Shino as he finished his report. When she first read the scroll the Abirame had sent beforehand, she thought it was her bad luck again, only to find out it wasn't. It looked like Lady Luck was on her side this time, that is, depending if they could convince Naruto to come back. As she dismissed Shino, Tsunade's thoughts went back to how this whole mess had started. It had begun when Sasuke Uchiha, one of the two survivors of the Uchiha clan massacre, the other being his older brother and the perpetrator of said massacre, had deserted the village of Konoha. The reason? To join the rogue shinobi Orochimaru for power to kill his brother Itachi Uchiha after the snake Sannin gave Sasuke a curse mark. He left the village at night, and was escorted by 4 of Orochimaru's elite shinobi. In response to Godame Hokage, Tsunade Senju, granddaughter and grandniece of the Shodame Hokage and Naidame Hokage respectively, as well as one of the Sannin, trained under the Sandame Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, her teammates being Jiraiya and the rogue Nin Orochimaru, had sent out a team to retrieve Sasuke and bring him back. However, due to the lack of manpower within the village, thanks to an invasion a few months prior, all that Tsunade could send out was a team of genin led by a newly minted chunin to retrieve the Uchiha. One of the genins was Naruto Uzumaki, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, and one of Sasuke's teammates. The mission was a success, though 2 of the members were critically injured. They would live, however, after intense surgery and medical ninjutsu done by her, Shizen, and several other Konoha medic nins. The team, with help from the Sand siblings, killed all 4 members of Orochimaru's elite guards, the Sound 4, along with the 5th member Kimimaro Kagaya, who succumbed to a disease he had, according to Gaara. Naruto himself faced and defeated Sasuke Uchiha, bringing his unconscious teammate back to Konoha. But little did anyone know that would be Naruto's last time in the village. Since his birth and becoming the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, Naruto Uzumaki has been hated by the majority of the village and sometimes beaten too. The leaders of these beatings and other sorts were the members of the civilian council. This group consisted of wealthy merchants and other positions of power that were more interested in their desires than the village, such as making Naruto's life miserable. They also worshipped Sasuke Uchiha, keeping him on a pedestal in order to get on his good side and his clan's wealth. And with said boy injured by the one that they scorned for so long, they finally had a way of getting rid of the demon brat. Through careful planning and sneaking in a few documents into certain piles, they had managed to begin their plan. To explain more clearly, Tsunade Senju, the granddaughter and grandniece of the Shodame Hokage and Nidame Hokage respectively and the current Godame Hokage, was focused more on healing the members of the retrieval team, particularly Choji Akimichi and Niji Hyuga, the two being in critical condition than all the others sent on the mission. Also, in order to calm her rattle nerves when doing these serious medical operations, she drank a lot of sake to keep going. In fact, she was so busy and drunk that she hadn't been looking at what she was signing one day when she was more focused on the current status of the retrieval team members. For if she had, she would have noticed that one of the forms was a clause slipped in by the civilian council, with the help of Danzo, wanting her approval for a 4-year banishment of one Naruto Uzumaki, along with sealing his chakra, nullifying any summoning contract he had and forbidding him from entering Konoha and to a lesser extent Fire Country during his banishment. To Danzo, with the boy out of the village, he could capture him and make Naruto into the weapon that Danzo believed he should have been. But it was too late, and the deed was done. The next day, Tui and Biu, both assuming that the order they were following was approved by the Hokage and council, entered the hospital room that Naruto was resting in and informed him of his banishment. This news shocked Naruto, and it was then after anyone who saw him would say he looked like a broken man whose entire life was shattered in an instant. Though the only people who'd seen him after that were Zero, since his female teammate refused to meet with him since she blamed Naruto for Sasuke's condition, his sensei seemed to be more concerned with said Uchiha as well. The rest of his friends and loved ones were busy and unaware of his banishment, and the fact that the ANBU had taken him to the prisoner wing of the hospital so he could finish recovering before they put the seals on him didn't help much. However, according to the ANBU, or former ANBU now courtesy of Tsunade, Naruto somehow had managed to leave the village before any other seal was placed minus the seal that broke his contract with the Toads. After that he disappeared off the face of the map, and even with Jiraiya's spy network couldn't find him. And since his contract with the Toads had been cancelled, they couldn't reverse summon him back to Konoha. Tsunade found out after finishing up her other business, and when her former teammate Jiraiya appeared in her office with a rare angry look on his face when Gamabunta told him that Naruto's contract was cancelled. When the Toad Sage told her, followed by him scolding her for not looking at what she signed, the Godame Hokage went ballistic in a form both of rage, guilt, and grief that she was tricked into banishing someone that she had just recently held dear to her like a son almost. After calming down, and demolishing the gate that Naruto had left through, along with everything else nearby that wasn't inhabited, Tsunade called a meeting of the council in order to find out who tricked her in doing this deed. After finding out the culprits, with them being either killed, imprisoned or removed from their positions on the council, Tsunade had to deal with two more problems besides finding Naruto, Akatsuki, and dealing with a group of furious nations and villages, the latter which consisted of Spring Country, Wave Country, Tea Country, Wind Country, Sungekure, Takigekure, and Yukigekure. All of these places and the people in them, especially the village leaders and daimyos, were greatly indebted to Naruto for saving them. They were also not pleased of how their hero was treated during his childhood and now his banishment, favoring over a boy who had tried to turn traitor just because he was the last of his clan. And while they still traded with them or have an alliance, due to politics stopping them from breaking all ties from Konoha and Fire Country completely, they were hardly friendly with the village founded by Hashirama Senju, and Tsunade had a good feeling that they would secretly offer Naruto asylum if not so already. The former, Akatsuki, was more troubling than the latter. Jiraiya told her that it was a group of several S-rank missing nin. And seeing how two of their members were Itachi Uchiha and Kisame Hashigaki, the latter being a former member of Kiri's 7 Swordsmen, and that her other former teammate, Orochimaru, used to be member, showed that this group was one not to be trifled with. Also, from the little information the Toad Sage could uncover, were that Akatsuki had an interest with the bijou. All 9 of them, for whatever reason or purpose, was unknown. But anyone with an interest in the bijou was anything but good, especially if they were a criminal organization. Tsunade believed that this group and in turn finding Naruto were more important than worrying about a bunch of pissed-off nations and villages. So for the past 6 years since that horrible day, Jiraiya has had his spy network looking up for any signs of Naruto's whereabouts. While he still sent information regarding anything else of importance to Konoha, anything concerning either Akatsuki or Naruto were sent directly to her, the contents only known to Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Tsunade's assistant and senior student Shizen. Once the door to her office clicked shut, leaving just herself and Shizen, Tsunade let out a long sigh before speaking to the open air. "What do you think, Jiraiya?" Behind her, sitting on an open window, was the Toad Sage and her former teammate Jiraiya. The man also had a frown on his face, and was deep in thought before speaking, while Shino seemed pretty sure that this person was Naruto when he sensed the chakra. Aburame members aren't usually wrong when it comes to identifying chakra, similar to the Hyuga clan. Jiraiya said, feeling relieved that after 6 years of no news of his godson that said boy was still alive. Then he added, got to admit that wearing a mask to hid his face was a pretty smart move of the Gaki, though the description of it rings a bell, but I can't remember where. The Toad Sage said. Tsunade-sama, what should we do? Shizen asked, finally speaking with the Hokage's pet pig, Taunton, letting out an oink, as if asking the same thing too. After thinking for a moment, Tsunade let out a sigh. According to Shino, Naruto appeared to have been heading towards Wind Country, most likely going towards Suna since Gaara is Kazekage and those two are friends. The Hokage said before pulling out a scroll. We'll send a team there to see if the Gaki is staying at Suna and hopefully convince Naruto that it's safer in Konoha than anywhere else. Among all those that were angry over Naruto's banishment, Gaara was at the top of the list. A testament to that was that the young man almost killed the entire civilian council when he heard them saying some negative things about Naruto. Being a Jinchuriki himself, Gaara understood what Naruto went through and along with that was deeply indebted to the Uzumaki for helping him to get out of his original belief, namely killing everyone and acting like a psychotic killer. In fact, Gaara owed Naruto for everything and getting him to where he was now, as Kazekage of Sunigekure and a married man to boot. After telling Shizen to get Team 7, the young woman left the office, thus leaving 2 of the 3 Sannin as the only occupants in the room. Jiraiya looked towards his blonde female teammate. You know the chances of him wanting to return are slim, he said grimly. Tsunade sighed, knowing how true that was. I know, Jiraiya, I know. But what choice do we have? If that group, Akatsuki, finds out where Naruto is, then they'll attack Suna twice as hard since Gaara is also one of their targets. Suna doesn't have enough manpower to repel them. Also, what's stopping Danzo from sending his root goons to get Naruto when, not if, he learns about this and whether or not he succeeds will have a war against Suna because of his actions? The Hokage then leaned back on her chair, looked down at her desk, rubbing her forehead. We just have to pray that Naruto still has some love for the village to come back. And if he does, I'll announce his heritage to the villagers and shinobi, to make his life easier. Minato and Kushina's enemies be damned. The Hokage finished. Speaking of shinobi, why did you decide to send Team 7? Jiraiya asked the Hokage. Well, I'm hoping that by sending his old team, one of them being his crush, it will convince Naruto to return back to the village willingly. Tsunade replied before adding, however, by the sound of your tone you have your doubts about that. While normally that kind of thing could work, but concerning this certain team it's a different matter, Jiraiya said. Kakashi focused more on Sasuke than he did on Sakura and Naruto, with said Kunoichi being a fangirl despite your training and hit Naruto more than you did to me. Hell, I even heard that she blamed the Gaki for hurting the Uchiha before Naruto left the village 6 years ago. I mean, sure, you managed to change Sasuke's way of thinking and views towards Naruto, but that was after the Gaki left. And then there is Sai, the new member, whom I'm sure you've noticed that he screams root all over. All in all, I think either Team 8, 9 or 10 would have been a better choice. Hell, sending Shizen or Iruka would be even better, Jiraiya stated. Tsunade sighed in annoyance since she knew what Jiraiya was saying. I know what you mean, but those teams are already out on missions and by the time they return Naruto might be in a different place now. And now that you mention it, Sai will most likely report this to Danzo, being one of his drones and that seal on his tongue. I'm still looking into that, but it's a piece of work though, Jiraiya added. And that Warhawk will bring it up at the next meeting and will either try to push for the Gaki's return or worse, him and those other Coots will want to label him as a missing nin. Also, some of the members of those other teams saw Naruto as the fox due to the civilian council's actions of breaking Sensei's law until they were finally broken out of it. Tsunade finished. When Naruto was banished, that had inadvertently removed the Sandaime Hokage's law concerning Naruto's status as a Jinchuriki and revealing it to the younger generation. With that gone, the civilian council, along with several other civilians and shinobi that hated Naruto because of the fox, revealed to the younger generation of the Kyuubi. Because of that, said generation was now divided upon what they now thought about the former genin, and more importantly it caused a rift between the dubbed Rookie 12 Naruto's old friends. On one side were the side that didn't believe the crap that the civilian council and other Naruto haters said and saw Naruto as a person and friend and not the fox. The first one was the lazy genius Shikamaru Nara, who had quickly put 2 and 2 together, and didn't hate Naruto thinking he was the fox. And following him was Choji, Shikamaru's best friend, who believed Shikamaru and was good friends with Naruto too when they were younger. The next was Tenten, who didn't see anything that screamed demonic or evil about Naruto, along with her boyfriend Neji Hyuga, who also owed Naruto for helping the Hyuga prodigy open his eyes. After that was Shino Aburame and Neji's cousin Hinata Hyuga. The former, like Shikamaru, figured it out quickly and found it illogical for Naruto to be a threat to anyone or to be even considered the Kyuubi in human form, since it was the same as saying an Aburame was a bug. Hinata refused to believe that her longtime crush was a demon, since she knew that someone as caring, protective and determined such as Naruto could ever be a walking mass of destruction and malice. The last person, surprisingly, was none other than Sasuke Uchiha, who after his return to Konoha and his discharge from the hospital had a long private chat with both Tsunade and Jiraiya. They showed him the results of using Orochimaru's curse seal, the same seal said man had given to Sasuke, and what the seal did to the body. That was to discourage Sasuke from doing another stunt like that one again. What they did next was that Jiraiya and Tsunade revealed to Sasuke the truth behind the Uchiha massacre, which Jiraiya had learned from Sarutobi before the Sandaime Hokage's death, and every file on Naruto and the miserable life the boy had in the village. It was from these things that changed Sasuke from trying to leave the village to gain power to kill his brother Itachi, as well as regretful for his actions that caused Naruto's banishment. The other side, unfortunately, was the side that believed Naruto was the fox despite what their parents said, with their reasons being stupid and shallow until a year after the boy's banishment. Sakura and Ino were the worst, the both of them being Uchiha fangirls and thus hated Naruto for the extreme injuries given to Sasuke. And Kiba hated Naruto because of the power he had, along with his defeat by said boy's hand and the fact that Hinata had a crush on Naruto too. Lee was somewhat on their side since he wanted Sakura's attention, but that caused a rift between him and his sensei Mado Guy, said Taijutsu Master, disappointed in his prized student's unyouthful decision. This caused several rifts within the teams of the Rookie 12. However, that all quickly changed when Lee, Ino and Sakura were scolded by Guy, Shikamaru and Tsunade respectively of how foolish and shallow their hatred for Naruto was. Did the three finally snap out of it while Kiba had it beaten into his head by his mother, Suminosuke, and his sensei, literally. For now, let's just hope that Kakashi can convince Naruto to come back without using force. Tsunade of the present mumbled, but loud enough for her former teammate to hear. Hidden location. Deep within the darkness of a dark cave, the astral images of 9 figures could be seen standing in a circle. One of them, with metallic silver and rippling eyes, spoke first. It appears that the Kyuubi Jinchuriki has been discovered, the man said before turning his attention to another person, a male that had the unusual appearance of having a Venus flytrap attached to his body. Zetsu, the first man said. Zetsu spoke to the others in his 2 different voices. Turns out he's actually Kodama, Fox Spirit, that wandering nin who made a name for himself these past few years. White, Zetsu said. He was headed towards Wind Country, most likely to Suna since he's good friends with the Kazekage. Black, Zetsu finished. So now 2 of our targets are in the same place. Kisame, a former Kirinin and member of the 7th Swordsman with a shark-like appearance, said. Maybe, but it's most likely that he won't stay there for long. Pain, the leader and the man with the unusual eyes, said. According to Zetsu, the Jinchuriki was seen by a Konoha shinobi who most likely put 2 and 2 together, and has reported it to the Hokage. Meaning they might send a team to retrieve him from Suna. He'll also be a challenge to take down. Kakuzu, the banker of Akatsuki, said. If he is Kodama, then he'll be S rank if his achievements are anything to go by. The bounty placed on his head is enough to set someone for life. Perhaps we should ignore him for now. Itachi Uchiha, the man responsible for the Uchiha clan massacre, and Sasuke's older brother, suggested. While this is the first sighting we have of him for over 6 years, we do not know Naruto's full abilities right now. Going after him unprepared would be unwise. Pain nodded in agreement, though he was confident he could handle the boy. Agreed. Besides, we need to seal the Kyuubi last anyway. What is the status of the other Jinchuriki? Well, the Ichibi is in Suna, as you already know. The Nibi hasn't been leaving Kumo as much, but she still takes missions, so there will be an opening the next time she does. The Sanbai is still in the same lake it's been in for the past 3 years, undisturbed, so now would be the best time to snag it before Kiri gets wind of its location. The Yambi is still wandering around Earth Country, and the last time he's made contact with anyone from IWA was 2 years ago, so he's pretty much isolated, though IWA seems to be getting restless of having their Jinchuriki out of the village, so they might send people to get them. The Gobi is actually back in the village, and by his own will from the looks of things. The Rokubi was traveling around Fire Country with a member of the Tsuchigumo clan a few months ago, but they were allowed to join Kiri again since the civil war was over, and the Jinchuriki was given a full pardon by the Godame Mizukage. The Nanabai is currently in Takigakure, though she does take missions, so we can wait for the next time she leaves the village. But she's also gained more control over her Bija, and she can fly now too. The Hachibi we should also avoid for now because he's being confined in Kumo, though he leaves the village now and then to train in some mountain area in Lightning Country. Both sides of Zetsu said together. I see, Pain said before looking at the rest of the members of Akatsuki. We'll focus on the Sanbai since it's still in the wilderness and is alone. Sasori, that will be your assignment, and afterwards you and Deidara will make your way towards Suna. Deidara, you will go capture the Achibi since your skills will be useful with the Jinchuriki being in the village most of the time. The rogue Suna puppeteer and the IWA bomber nodded. Wouldn't it be better for me to get the sandby since it's in the water and I'm a Swait end user? Kisame said, voicing his opinion. True, but you and Itachi will be going to retrieve the Yambi since it's far away from the village. According to our intel, the Jinchuriki has the lava release Kekiai Genkai, which is also enhanced by the Yambi. Your Suiton techniques and chakra absorbing abilities would prove more beneficial with that, Pain said. After hearing the reason and the logic behind it, Kisame nodded and backed down. Pain continued soon after. It is doubtful that the Rokubi will leave Kiri for missions anytime soon since the village is still recovering for the civil war, which goes for the same for the Hachibi whose brother the Reikage keeps him in Kumogakure. So we'll ignore those two along with the Gobi and the Kyubi for the time being, which leaves us the Nibi and Nanabai. The former is assigned to Haiden while the latter is assigned to Kakuzu. Since we don't know yet when they will be out of the village, you two will remain on standby and make the best of it while increasing our funding so we can continue later missions. Fucking great, more dumbass bounty hunting when I could be doing better shit in Jashin-sama's name. Haiden cursed with his usual swearing mouth. Shut it, Haiden, your damn religion is the reason why we have to earn more cash in the first place. Kakuzu snapped. What will I be doing, Leader-sama? White Setsu asked. You will continue surveying the Kyubi Jinchuriki so we can get a better grasp of his abilities. If he is indeed this Kodama person, then he will not be an easy target, Pain said before eventually ending the meeting, and one by one the images faded away. 3 days later, Wind Country, Team 7. The reformed Team 7, consisting of 1 Jonin and 3 Chunins, had recently made it into Wind Country about yesterday, and after camping out in a cave to avoid the nighttime sandstorms, the team had continued on its way towards Suna, with 2 different set of orders. The first and official order was for the team to deliver a scroll with a letter from Tsunade discussing the trade agreements between the 2 villages. She had originally planned to send it a week later since the deadline was only 2 weeks away, but she figured that this would be a good excuse to get a chance of finding Naruto. This led to the second and unofficial order given to Team 7 by the Godame Hokage, confirmed Naruto Uzumaki was staying in Suna and tried to convince him to return to Konoha for safety against Akatsuki force being only a last resort. Also with the Kazekage's sister, Temari, staying in Konoha due to her role as ambassador, Tsunade wanted the team to leave as soon as possible before the Suna Kunoichi caught on and warned her brother and Naruto ahead of time. Of course, the idea of questioning Temari about how long she knew, if at all, of Naruto's interactions with Suna came up, but Tsunade shot that down. Not only would that cause international problems between Konoha and Suna, Temari was very strong-willed and equally skilled and might escape before they could question her. Also, Tsunade would probably get an earful from Yoshino Nara, the woman being angry that the Hokage and Jiraiya might have ruined her chance of getting a daughter-in-law, since it was well known that Temari and Shikamaru Nara were dating. The fact that the lazy genius was always assigned to escort Temari helped too. But back to Team 7, Tsunade sent them as not only were they the only team available she could trust, but she hoped that they could better convince Naruto. But as explained by Jiraiya before, force might open right at the get-go due to the history of that this team had with Naruto Uzumaki, who originally was a member of it. Kakashi Hatake, the Jonin instructor, was ashamed of himself for not trying to be a better teacher to his team and not pointing Naruto and Sakura in the right directions to make them stronger. Those things had caused him to lose respect from his Jonin colleagues and even his leader a bit. For the past 6 years he has been doing everything in his powers to make amends for those failures, especially to his sensei for failing his legacy, and hopefully he can correct that mistake today. Sasuke was also hoping for redemption on his part that caused Naruto's banishment. After the meeting with Tsunade and Jiraiya 6 years ago, Sasuke became a changed man from the brooding Avenger boy he was once. He was ashamed of what his clan had become before Itachi killed them, and while he understood why his brother did it, Sasuke still desired to be the one to bring Itachi to justice, and at the very least to understand why Itachi did it. Of course, Sasuke was also focused on finding Naruto, but also knew that trying to get the blonde to return to a village that treated him like shit wasn't going to be easy. A/N. They don't know Naruto changed his hair color. Sakura had changed much over the past 6 years, and not just her skills. While originally she hated Naruto for critically injuring Sasuke, she soon learned the hard way that that kind of thinking did her little good, as Sasuke yelled at her for siding with him when he tried to leave the village to join a sick missing Nin and nearly got the team sent to get him, including Naruto, nearly killed. It also should be noted that Sakura was nearly strangled to death by Tsunade during one of her lessons. Did Sakura finally see how shallow her reasons were, and that she had done nothing but hurt Naruto? The fourth and final member in Naruto's replacement, Sawaswell, really had no opinion on the matter of what he thought of Naruto. This was due to the fact the pale boy doesn't know the Kyubi Jinchuriki personally, and that he was focused on following both the orders of the Hokage and his true master Danzo Shimura. Said orders were to bring the Jinchuriki back to the village so Danzo, whether with or without Tsunade's permission, place a loyalty seal on Naruto to ensure his loyalty to Konoha and to Danzo. Back in the present, the four Konoha shinobi continued their trek across the desert before Sai's eyes widened for a brief moment. Kakashi-san, I see my ink birds and rats returning, the pale boy said to the Jonin. Said Jonin, and his two other students stopped when Sai announced this. Kakashi had Sai send several of his ink creatures ahead to scout the land towards Suna just in case Naruto passed them or something. The rest of the team watched as the ink creatures landed on a pulled-out piece of paper Sai had out. Quickly the animals took the forms of letters while the rest formed a map. What do they say? Kakashi asked. They say that a person that matches the description that Shino-san gave is walking away from the village towards the border of Fire Country by the looks of it, Sai said in his usual monotone voice. Kakashi's visible eye widened for a moment but returned to normal before anyone saw. Which way? He asked quickly. Sai pointed towards the east. About 4 miles that way, just near where there is a cluster of rocks nearby. If we move now we should make it there in about 30 minutes or less and can intercept him, Sai reported. Okay everyone, we move towards the cluster and wait for Naruto there. We won't move until we confirm it is, Kakashi said to the others. And remember, we're to try and convince him peaceful to return to the village, forces to be used only as a last resort, understood? Kakashi emphasized the last part towards Sakura especially, who had a dark look in her eyes before it vanished. Soon all 3 Chunins nodded before they took off towards the direction Sai pointed to. While they were running, Sasuke decided to bring up one fact. You know, the chances of us even getting to agree to come back to the village are very low, Sasuke said. Kakashi didn't say anything to that, but merely nodded at the truth in those words. Sai, however, commented, doesn't matter if he agrees or not, but our orders are to retrieve him no matter what, Sai said. The comment on the Uchiha's hair earned a glare from said boy and a lump on the head courtesy of a certain pink-haired girl and a sigh from the Jonin. With Naruto. Naruto halted in his leisurely walk, being careful not to awaken the small sleeping bundle strapped to his back. His blue eyes narrowed. Kurama, Naruto said to the Kyuubi that was sealed inside of him. I sense it too, Kit the fox with 9 tails said, who had originally been asleep but now had one eye lazily open. Several chakra signatures heading towards you. And 3 of them are familiar and the 4th one is unknown, Kurama added. It has to be Konoha, Naruto thought to himself, but also to Kurama. The chakra signatures are a bit different but still familiar. The only people I can think of that the old hag would send after me would be. Naruto's eyes widened as he figured it out before they narrowed, followed by a low growl. Kurama, having already figured it out as well, chuckled darkly. Looks like it's going to be a regular team reunion, the Kyuubi said dryly. Though he knew that Kurama was joking, Naruto also knew that he couldn't really escape using Mikado, his own space-time ninjutsu that he created from studying his father's Hiraishin. He had managed to acquire his father and mother's notes on the night he ran away from Konoha, when he learned about his origins from the Kyuubi himself. Said Bijou stated that he had no desire to have a weak container or being anyone's pawn, especially a certain Warhawk, due to the fact that he had none of his special double-edged bladed ninjato close enough to teleport them to, excluding the one he kept in Suna with Gaara's permission. But he couldn't go back there because even though Gaara could deny Konoha of giving them Naruto, the Uzumaki knew that it wouldn't stop his former village from trying to bring him back to Konoha for his safety, so Naruto figured that the best thing to do would be to stall his former teammates long enough for him to place one of his ninjato close enough for him to teleport to, but far enough so that he would have a good distance away from his pursuers. With that decision made, Naruto bit his right thumb, and then formed the hand signs before slamming it on the ground, saying, Kuchios no Jutsu. And then a puff of smoke that reached Naruto's waist appeared. When it disappeared, in its place was a fox with a long tail and dark red fur with 2 yellow stripes that looked like lightning going of its body from its eyes to its tail. Hello Naruto-sama, do you require my assistance? The fox asked with a voice that was obviously male. Hey Doro-san, I got some pursuers heading towards me and don't have enough time to get some distances from them either, Naruto said as he touched the red bracer on his left hand, releasing a ninjato that was sealed in it. He then handed it to the fox named Doro. I need you to take this and Kiko-chan to the borders of Fire Country, which is a few miles away, while I distract them. Once you reach the border, send a pulse of chakra through this ninjato. That will alert me and I'll teleport right away. Naruto finished. Understood Naruto-sama, Doro said as he used his tail to grab the weapon by its handle. Then Naruto carefully detached the baby carrier that held Kiko before attaching it to Doro's body, making sure that the toddler was resting on the fox's back. The slight movement pulled back the hood on the girl's orange sweater, revealing her red hair with pigtails. The jostling also woke her up slightly as her eyelids opened, revealing weary and tired purple eyes that stared at Naruto's blue eyes. Daddy? She said tiredly, her eyelids slowly closing. Naruto just smiled at his 3-year-old daughter before rubbing a comforting hand over her red hair. Don't worry, sweetie, daddy just needs to deal with some bad people. So you'll be riding Doro-san for a little bit, but daddy will be back soon. Naruto replied to the child, whom had already fallen back asleep. Giving a nod to the fox, Naruto watched as Doro sped off towards the border at a speed that would have made a certain green spandex-wearing shinobi and his mini-version jealous. As the fox sped off, Naruto let out a brief sigh, eyes closed, before they snapped back open instantly, a determined and hard glare now showing in his eyes as he prepared to deal with his former team. A couple of minutes later, Naruto was walking through the cluster of rocks that Sai had described around the same time. The redhead had a calm look on his face as he walked through the cluster of rocks. He continued walking when he sensed several nearby chakra signatures. Acting on instincts, Naruto vanished from his spot on top of a large rock, looking down at his previous position just as 4 people surrounded it. 3 of them he recognized and 1 he didn't. Kakashi was the first to recover from the surprise of how fast Naruto moved, but was even more surprised when he got a good look of his former student. The Uzumaki now had red spiky hair that his mother's clan was well known for instead of the yellow hair that he had inherited from his father. The former Konoha shinobi, however, still had his blue eyes. Snapping out of his stupor, Kakashi gave his signature eye smile. Yo Naruto! How's it been? Naruto raised an eyebrow, as if he was trying to figure out if Kakashi was joking. Kakashi, I would call you sensei, but seeing how I'm no longer one of your students and that you've never really been an actually sensei, I won't. Naruto said nonchalantly. Okay, I guess I had that coming, Kakashi thought to himself before regaining his composure and speaking. Naruto, we've been sent by orders of the Hokage to. I have no intentions of going back to that hellhole of a village, Naruto said in a serious voice, cutting off Kakashi's sentence. Despite the fact I was banished, I feel a lot happier than I've ever been in my whole life, and I won't be taken back to a place that would rather see me dead. If you refuse to come back willingly, then we will capture and force you back, dickless. Sai said emotionlessly, though the last part earned a tick mark from Naruto, but said person merely pushed it aside. I'm guessing he's my replacement? Naruto asked, getting a nod from Kakashi. His manners need some working since it's clear that he has no knowledge of negotiating if he talks like that, Naruto commented. Sakura gave Sai another lump on the head, seeing how he made the situation worse. While that was happening, Sasuke spoke. Look, Naruto, the Hokage made a mistake and she's sorry. She even put down those idiot civilian council members that tricked her, and she's willing to compromise. Also, there's a group of this time Sasuke was cut off by Naruto. S-class missing Nin who are after me for the QB, blah blah blah. Naruto said boringly. I already know that, and I've been doing a wonderful job of staying out of their radar, and I'm more than ready to deal with them, he said. Naruto, please, you can't really believe that you can take on a group of shinobi of Kage-level strength on your own. You won't be able to stand a chance by yourself. Tsunade-sama knows this and wants you to come back so she can protect you, Sakura said, but flinched at the glare the redhead gave her. I really don't want to hear anything from you, Sakura. Especially not about helping me, seeing how many times you've countlessly hit me for petty to no reasons at all just for being myself or trying to help you. Sakura couldn't help but flinch again at that and had the decency to look ashamed. Now you all have one chance to get out of my sight and never bother me again. Or else I'll use more extreme methods. Kakashi sighed, seeing how this was not going the way he wanted it to go. I guess there really isn't anything we can do to convince you, he said, not asked, as he pulled up his headband, revealing his Sharingan. Ignoring the roaring demands of Kurama to rip the cursed eye from Hataki's face, Naruto calmly replied, No, there isn't. He finished before using his advanced Shunshin Zanzo, afterimage, disappearing into thin air and then reappeared before Team 7, shocking them at the incredible speed the redhead just showed. However, before they could react, Naruto raised both his hands and shouted, Funryu Taiho! Jet Cannon, and fired a powerful blast of wind chakra from both of his palms, which he had thrust forward. The results were all 4 members of Team 7 being blasted backwards from the impact of the wind and sent them back a great distance. Kakashi was the first to recover, having done a flip in mid-air and landed on the ground. Sai and Sasuke skidded across the sandy ground, while Sakura, who had been in the center of the attack, had more trouble recovering and instead crashed into a nearby rock, causing a small crater in it from the impact. Well, that was interesting, Kakashi said as he regained his breathing. Despite having been able to land easier than the others, Naruto's attack took a lot of air out of him, literally. At least now we know that he's a wind user, the copycat shinobi commented. Yeah, but that means lightning techniques won't work as well, Sasuke commented as he got up and had already pulled out his chakra blade Shikuto. We don't even know the full extent of his abilities, so that makes things even more troublesome. Back in Konoha, a certain Nara sneezed. What makes you think I'll give you times even to react? Naruto asked as he began focusing wind chakra into his right pointer finger. Kuki-yubi! Air finger, and fired a large blast of wind in the shape of a bullet right towards the two Sharingan users. However, Kakashi's experience came in handy as he quickly countered it. Doton, Doria Hiki! Mud wall, Kakashi said as he finished the hand signs and slammed both hands on the ground. Then a wall of earth with 4 dog heads appeared before Kakashi and took the bullet of wind head on. While the earth wall managed to stop it, the impact caused it to crack severely. For my Doria Hiki to be so seriously damaged, that's one hell of an attack Naruto has. Kakashi thought to himself as he surveyed the damage. While this was happening, Sakura and Sai had not been standing idly by. Sai quickly took to the air on an ink bird while Sakura had charged towards Naruto's right side with a large clump of rock in her hand. Using her chakra-enhanced strength, Sakura threw the rock towards Naruto. But in response, Naruto merely smacked the rock to the side with ease and a bored look on his face as if he was unimpressed. However, Sakura used that brief moment to get closer to the redhead, preparing to deliver a strong punch to the face to knock Naruto out. But instead of getting the results she hoped for, Sakura was shocked to see Naruto merely raise his left hand and emit a brief pulse of chakra that cancelled out the chakra in Sakura's fist, allowing Naruto to grab it with ease. Naruto smirked at the shocked and confused look on his former teammate's face. In the end, Sakura, all you're good is hitting with your fist, thus showing your uselessness. Naruto remarked dryly before grabbing Sakura's wrist and pulling the pink head closer towards her, and then delivered his own chakra-enhanced punch right into Sakura's stomach. This caused the Haruno to keel over and cough out some blood. Suddenly Naruto's ninja senses went up and the redhead turned to see Kakashi upon him, a suppression seal in his hand. Not to be overtaken by this, Naruto raised his right finger and fired another Kuki-yubi, but this time instead of being large as the first one, this one was smaller, the actual size of a bullet, and a lot faster too. It quickly pierced Kakashi's right shoulder, surprising the Jonin at the sudden attack and dropped the suppression seal. But before he could recover, Naruto threw Sakura right at Kakashi, sending both teacher and student flying backwards. Before he could relax, Naruto felt a shadow over him. Looking up, the redhead saw Sai on his large ink bird release a dozen smaller ink birds with explosion tags attached to them, straight towards the Uzumaki. But Naruto remained undeterred as he formed hand seals. Futon, Yofu! Hawk wind, and then Naruto blew out some wind from his mouth while at the same time swiped his arms like wings and fired a large gust of wind in the shape of a hawk. The bird of wind made contact with the smaller ink birds and suddenly the ink birds dispersed while at the same time the explosive notes attached to them went off, causing a large explosion in the air. Taking advantage of Naruto's attention on Sai, Sasuke charged in. His Sharingan was active and sending lightning chakra into his Chikuto. The Uchiha's plan was to touch Naruto with his blade and send out a brief pulse of electricity through the redhead's body, paralyzing him. At the same time, Sakura and Kakashi had managed to get themselves untangled and the former charged in on Naruto as well. But none of them expected what came next. Naruto shot out his arms towards Sakura and Sasuke, and extending from them were chakra chains, the same ones Naruto's mother, Kushina, could use. The chains moved at blinding speed before wrapping themselves around Sakura and Sasuke, with the latter losing his grip on his Chikuto. With both of them caught, Naruto began swinging them around like flails, with Naruto striking Sasuke into the ground hard, while swinging Sakura upwards right towards Sai, who hadn't even seen it coming. The Kunoichi medic slammed right into the artist boy, destroying his ink bird and sending both of them crashing into the ground. After reseating the chains back into him, Naruto looked around for his former sensei, only for him to be nowhere to be found. If he's not coming from the front, behind, left, right or above, then that only leaves. Popping out of the ground beneath Naruto were 2 hands that made a go for his redhead's feet. But instead Naruto shouted, "Funrya Teijin! Jet step!" and suddenly Naruto's feet release a powerful burst of wind chakra that sent Naruto high into the air. At the same time, Kakashi was hit dead on by the burst of wind chakra, and the Naruto was sure he heard a few of the Jonin's bones break. But it turned out to be not when Kakashi suddenly dispersed from existence, revealing it to be a shadow clone and not the real one. Naruto looked to his right and saw the real Kakashi leap towards him, a tanto in hand. However, when Kakashi swung the tanto at Naruto, lightning chakra infused with it, Naruto brought up his right bracer and sent chakra through it. Thus a chakra shield appeared from the bracer and blocked the sword strike. Naruto then followed it up with grabbing Kakashi's right shoulder, where the wound from Naruto's Kuki-yubi still was. As it had yet to heal, the sudden pressure on the wound caused Kakashi to flinch and lower his guard, but gave Naruto an opening. "You're moving way too slow, Kakashi. Your age catching up to you?" Naruto asked mockingly. Then without warning, Naruto shouted, "Funrya Kenju!" Jet pistol, and plowed a wind chakra punch right into Kakashi's chest, breaking some bones for sure this time, as well as sending Kakashi plummeting to the ground. Naruto, however, landed gracefully on a large rock overlooking where Kakashi crashed. Chidori Saban! A voice shouted from behind Naruto. Said redhead spun around to see Sasuke fire 100 or more lightning chakra Saban flying straight towards him. But Naruto reacted quickly while thinking, I'll have to use a technique from my bloodline element to counter this since I can't use a higher level futon technique to stop it. Naruto thought as he formed 3 hand seals that ended with the ram seal. Onmyotan, Sekinetsu Satsui no Jutsu. Yin-Yang release, red hot shot technique, and then Naruto fired a large ball of red energy surrounded by electricity from his mouth, and was the same size as a Gokakyu no Jutsu, great fireball technique. The ball made contact with the flying Saban but merely knocked them to the side as it continued flying towards the still shocked Uchiha. It was only a few seconds before it made contact with him did Sasuke snap out of his stupor and performed a quick substitute with a nearby rock. When the ball struck the rock it exploded, not a loud explosion but still pretty noisy and sending small debris of rock flying everywhere nearby the point of impact. Before Naruto could celebrate, several ink lions jumped up from all around him, getting ready to pounce on the Uzumaki. Acting quickly, Naruto sent chakra to both of his bracers, causing chakra blades to pop out the front of the bracers. Now armed Naruto began slashing through the ink lions with ease, ignoring as some of the ink splashed onto his clothes. Back with Kakashi, the Jonin had been pulled out of the crater he had made by Sakura, who soon began running a diagnostic jutsu on her sensei. In front of them was Sai, standing guard and drawing 3 more ink lions. As Sakura began healing Kakashi as best she could, or until he could still fight, the silver-haired Jonin commented, "This is not going as well as I thought it would." Kakashi murmured but loud enough for Sakura to hear. "I still can't believe how strong he is now. Naruto was never this strong 6 years ago," Sakura added as she healed the wound on Kakashi's shoulder, stopping the bleeding that had begun. "And those chakra chains were tough, I couldn't even break out of them." "Yeah," Kakashi murmured, a faraway look in his eyes as he remembered another Uzumaki who used the same chakra chains. "Where's Sasuke?" the Jonin asked, getting out of memory lane. "Duck butt had just barely avoided some attack I've never seen before. I sent an ink clone to check on him while I'm having my ink lions distract Dick less," Sai said without looking at Kakashi. "But I can't keep this up forever though, and my attacks aren't really doing much to tire him down." "Knowing Naruto, he won't tire out so quickly," Kakashi said as he started to get up, Sakura already finishing healing the more serious and painful wounds. It still hurt a little for him to get up, but Kakashi knew that lying down wasn't something he could do. "We need to find a way to freeze his movements, and then I can place a chakra suppression seal on him," however, Kakashi said, deep in thought. When he saw the curious looks on his 2 students, he explained, "So far Naruto hasn't shown any signs of trying to finish us off. This could mean that he doesn't want to kill us because he may still care for us, or that he doesn't want to be put into Konoha's bingo book. Or it could mean that he's buying time to make an escape. The last one makes more sense since he made it clear before the fight that he doesn't want to cause a scene," the Jonin finished. "Do you think he already has an escape plan and is just waiting, Kakashi-sensei?" Sakura asked while Sai drew one more group of ink lions to attack Naruto. The redhead didn't even look exhausted as he continued using his chakra blades to fight the lions and now a recovered Sasuke. "Most likely, which means that we need to subdue him now before he escapes. We won't get another chance like this in a while," Kakashi said as he pulled out a kunai and charged in to join Sasuke, followed by Sakura and Sai. Naruto had just destroyed the last ink lion when Sasuke charged towards him. Deactivating his chakra blades, Naruto unsealed the red-bladed katana and parried Sasuke's Chikuto before delivering a swift kick to the Uchiha's chest. But that didn't stop Sasuke, who recovered quickly before bringing down his Chikuto again. However, Naruto managed to stop the strike with his own sword once more, but the redhead glanced to see Sakura and Kakashi coming at him, the latter with a tanto in hand. Not wanting to be pinned down so the others could strike, Naruto managed to swiftly knock Sasuke off his feet before sending a strong kick to the stomach. This sent Sasuke skidding backwards with the air knocked out of him too. During the charge, Kakashi had seen Naruto draw the red sword and his eyes had widened as he recognized it. "Impossible! That sword, it's Kushina's. But it should still be in the estate at Konoha." Those were the thoughts going through Kakashi's head. But the Jonin kept his composure as he prepared to get behind Naruto, hoping to knock him unconscious with a chop to the neck. Naruto saw Kakashi out of the corner of his eyes, as well as Sasuke, who had recovered, coming up from his left while Sakura did a jump in the air and intended on attacking from above. Naruto was about to act when he felt something liquid grab his legs. Looking down, Naruto saw several ink snakes wrapping themselves around the Uzumaki's legs. They weren't holding him down indefinitely, but they were restricting his movements severely. Still, Naruto had been in these kinds of situations before and knew how to act accordingly in both freeing himself of the snakes and knocking his former teammates off their feet. Clapping his hands, Naruto shouted, "Futon, Tatsumaki no Hashira! Tornado Pillar, and right away a pillar of fast-spinning wind popped from the ground, surrounding Naruto. While it dispersed the ink snakes, a few seconds later the tornado expanded and struck Kakashi, Sasuke and Sakura all at the same time. The spinning wind must have been sharp as the 3 members of Team 7 had several cuts on their bodies, with only a few being deep enough to cause bleeding. Just as the tornado dispersed, Naruto felt a sudden spike in his chakra. Doro had finally reached his destination and planted the ninjato as ordered. Well, I have to say that this little reunion was fun, but I'm afraid I have to be going now. See ya maybe? Naruto said the last part with a smirk. Before any of the Konoha shinobi could act, the redhead disappeared into thin air, leaving no trace that he was there whatsoever, much to the shock of the others. Was that the Hiraishin? Kakashi thought to himself in surprise as he looked at the spot that Naruto had been standing moments ago. Finally snapping himself out of his state of shock, the copycat shinobi got back up on his feet as he went to rejoin his team. Sakura was healing a few of the wounds she had just required from Naruto's last attack. Sai had just landed beside her, and since he was slightly chakra exhausted from making so many ink creatures at once, he didn't have multiple cuts on his body. Kakashi was actually a little bit better than Sakura since his flak jacket took most of the damage from the tornado, though now it had numerous holes in it, though he had some cuts on his arms. Sasuke was the farthest away from the expanding tornado, and was slightly grazed by it, then injured really. No one is seriously wounded, I presume, Kakashi said to the 3 Chunins as he lowered his headband to cover his Sharingan eye. He winced though, since the bones that were broken by Naruto's Funryukujuin hadn't been fully healed. My wounds aren't too bad that I can't move properly, Sasuke said as he sat down on a small rock, catching his breath. That battle was very intense and took a lot out of him. But I'm pretty sure if I fight again I'm going to be hurting a lot during the whole time. I'm fine except for chakra exhaustion, and I didn't bring any soldier pills with me, Sai exclaimed as he put away his tanto. I don't think we can continue the mission even if we were in top shape, Sakura commented. Whatever Naruto did just now, it looks like it took him far away from here, she added. Sakura's right, Kakashi said as he looked around for some hopeful signs of Naruto, but of course found none. It looked like he used some kind of technique similar to my sensei's Hiraishin. He's probably gotten a good distance away from us too, and it'd be impossible for us to track him since we don't know which direction he teleported to. Before we caught up to him, it looked like he was going north through Fire Country, Sasuke said while Sakura began healing his wounds. He won't stay in Fire Country for long, not with Konoha knowing that he's still alive, Kakashi said as he pulled out a scroll and began writing in it. His plan was to send Pakken ahead of them to inform Tsunade of what had just transpired. With their wounds and low chakra, it would take Team 7 a while longer to get back to the village. The only place north that Naruto would go to is Spring Country since he's good friends with Koiki-sama, Kakashi added as he finished writing. Once he was done with the scroll, he took some blood from a wound and performed a quick set of hand seals. Slamming his hand on the ground, he said, Tuchios no Jutsu. And followed by a small puff of smoke appeared a small puppy with a Konoha headband on his person. Yo, Pakken said before he got a good look at Kakashi. Whoa, Kakashi, the hell happened to you? You look like you came back from a date gone wrong, the dog Nin exclaimed. Is that what I really look like at those times? Kakashi asked himself, a sweat drop appearing in response towards Pakken's description. But he soon shook it off as he handed the dog Nin a scroll. We just had a confrontation with Naruto. Didn't you say that the Hokage wanted you guys to negotiate with him? Pakken asked, interrupting Kakashi's explanation. Yes, but we weren't able to convince and forced to try and detain him, Kakashi said, an annoyed tone in his voice. That was a sign to Pakken to shut up and let Kakashi finish speaking. This scroll has the info of what happened along with which way we believe Naruto went and the location. This is for the eyes of the Hokage only, do not let anyone else see it before her. Also tell Tsunade-sama I'll have a detailed report when we return to the village, the copy Nin said. Got it, Pakken said as he took the scroll with his mouth, biting down on it so while his teeth didn't tear through it, it wouldn't fall out of his mouth. Without wasting a second, Pakken sped off at impressive speed towards Fire Country and towards Konoha. While Pakken was performing his task, Kakashi turned towards the rest of Team 7. Pakken will most likely get back to the village a day or two ahead of us. We'll move at a more leisurely pace so we don't exhaust ourselves than we already are and not reopen our wounds. But it's imperative that we get back to the village as soon as possible to think of our next move before Akatsuki gets to Naruto, Kakashi said. Personally I doubt they will give him much trouble seeing how he managed to toss all 4 of us like rag dolls, Sasuke grunted as he sheathed his chokoto. We were trying to capture him without causing any permanent damage, Kakashi rebuffed. Akatsuki won't care in what condition he will be in as long as he's brought back alive. There was a brief but tense moment of silence before Sai broke it. By the way, what was that attack that he used to deflect your Chidori Saban? I never saw a technique like that before, Sai said, looking at Sasuke. Kakashi was also curious as well, since he saw the technique, or a little of it, but he did see the explosion. If Sasuke hadn't dodged it, then the young Uchiha would have been fatally injured or dead. I was wondering the same thing, Sasuke. The technique looked like a Katon technique, the copycat said. I had thought so too, but it wasn't since I didn't see any fire chakra in it, Sasuke said as he got up. He looked towards the crater formed by the attack's explosion, internally glad he had dodged it. I was able to see the words he said, and he said on Maiton, not Katon. Kakashi's visible eyebrow went up, surprised by that. On Maiton? Are you sure? Kakashi asked intently. Sasuke nodded. Yeah, it might be a Kekkei Genkai or something, the Uchiha suggested. To be honest, Sasuke, I hope you're wrong and just heard it incorrectly, Kakashi said quietly, but enough for the rest of his team to hear. Because if it is, then I think things got just a hell of a lot harder. Konoha, Hokage's office, 3 days after Team 7's battle with Naruto. An annoyed Tsunade slammed the door to her office hard, nearly knocking them off their hinges, a sign she was angry. Behind her was her senior apprentice and assistant, as well as the niece of her deceased lover Dan, Shizun, and Kakashi Hatake, the latter with some bandages and band-aids on his body since he and his team had just got back to the village. Sitting on the windowsill was Jiraiya, whom seemed pretty anxious to hear Kakashi's reports as well as some other things, which shockingly had nothing to do with his research. But back to Tsunade, the reason for the Hokage's annoyance was the council meeting that had just ended a few minutes ago, the reason surrounding the events of Team 7's mission and its objective. Even in this kind of situation, a council meeting would not be needed unless something that affected the village as a whole and required the meeting. Even the event of a team being sent out to bring back a former shinobi of the village, the Jinchuriki to boot, were to happen, it wouldn't be necessary for a council to be summoned. The reason being that all missions are given to by the Hokage, who is the only person whom can know about the mission's parameter and its results, and did not need to be known to the council. None of that mattered in this case, for the reason was because that Danzo, after learning from Sai about the results of the mission, summoned a council meeting. Though the Hokage herself could only do such a thing if the topic was, as said before, of importance/concern to the village, then another member of the council could call a meeting. In this case was the growing fear that Naruto might want to exact revenge towards the village. Danzo had hoped that by playing on their fears of Naruto, the civilian council and maybe some members of the shinobi council would force Tsunade to label Naruto as a missing nin, or the very least making his retrieval back to the village as a primary focus, where Danzo could secretly enforce loyalty onto the boy. Kakashi was also there since as team leader it was his job to report what happened during the mission. However, that did not turn out to be the case. Naruto hadn't killed any of the members of Team 7, and as such could not be labeled a missing nin unless there was solid evidence that he had killed a shinobi of Konoha. Of course, the civilian council put up a stink about it, but after a harsh scolding, where one member of the council was knocked straight through the walls courtesy of Tsunade when he said the word abomination, did they stand down. And so now we find ourselves in the Hokage's office, with Tsunade already sending the ANBU away before putting up the privacy seals. Sometimes I wish my granduncle didn't come up with that damn council idea. Tsunade of the present groaned as she plopped back down in her seat. Yeah, and after seeing the look on Danzo's face after hearing about Naruto's skill set, from both Kakashi and most likely Sai, the old Warhawk will probably do everything in his power to get Naruto under his control, your permission or not, Jiraiya commented as he sat on his usual windowsill. Okay, Kakashi, I know that you held back a lot of stuff that was left out during the meeting. But seeing the fact that I got a letter from the Kazekage asking why Asuna Border Patrol saw your team leaving, though I have a feeling that he had found out from Naruto somehow, I believe that the situation is a lot more serious than you made it out to be. Now I want the full story of what happened when your team encountered Naruto. Tsunade ordered the silver-haired Jonin. Kakashi sighed before going into detailed explanation of how he and his team ran into Naruto, and after failing to negotiate with him, apparently he holds quite the grudge towards us. Specifically me and Sakura. Sai also got on his bad side by insulting him. Told you that sending them was a bad idea, Jiraiya added. Tsunade gave her former teammate a brief glare before looking back at the Jonin. What about Sasuke? Tsunade asked. I'm not fully sure about Sasuke, Kakashi said. Naruto didn't really sound as hostile towards him as he did with the rest of the team, despite having been used as target practice for a Chidori. Though that isn't saying that Naruto doesn't hold some animosity towards Sasuke. So that means the next team we send has to be on good terms with Naruto the next time we get wind of him, Tsunade concluded before asking another question that she has been meaning to ask since the team got back. Kakashi, revolving around your fight with Naruto, how would you rank him skill-wise? Tsunade asked, as she was quite surprised when she read the report from Kakashi, given to her by Pakken, about how bad Team 7's injuries were. It was rare to see one of the village's top jonin to be such a mess. Kakashi sighed. He had expected this question to be asked and had already formed a response for it. Well, he's gotten fast, that's for sure, and is equally strong too. Naruto also had some kind of advanced Shunshin technique that creates an afterimage of himself. His reaction timing is at least jonin level, along with taijutsu, and we discovered he's a wind user. He must have gotten it from Minato. He did have a high affinity for both lightning and wind chakra, Jiraiya added. Kakashi nodded in agreement before continuing. From what I saw so far, Naruto's wind techniques seem to resolve mostly around close to mid-range that involve impact and piercing methods, along with having an impressive wind technique for defense and offense. It's possible that he might have wind techniques that can use the wind for other areas such as cutting. Kakashi paused for a breather before going on. Naruto, from what my Sharingan could see, has twice the amount of chakra he had 6 years ago, so that means his levels are almost Biju levels. He also has pretty good chakra control since somehow he was able to release a small pulse of chakra to cancel out Sakura's chakra-enhanced punch with ease. That part shocked the two Sannin and Shizen. Both the fact that Naruto had discovered a way to stop the chakra-enhanced strength Sakura had learned from Tsunade, along with the fact that Kakashi calculated Naruto to have Biju-level chakra and incredible control, given the fact that when he was younger, the Uzumaki had poor control due to his large reserves, it really was quite a shocker. It made Tsunade wonder where Naruto was or doing for the past 6 years to have gotten such strength, and at the same time control. Hell, if Naruto hadn't been banished, then he would have been a Jonin by now or even Hokage. But Kakashi wasn't done as he continued. That last 4 things to know is that Naruto can use his mother's chakra chains by the looks of it, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think he can use Sensei's Hiraishin since he suddenly vanished at the end of the fight. Along with those 2, he's pretty skilled in Kenjutsu as he was using the Sekirei well against Sasuke and Sai's Ink Lions, the Jonin said. That really floored it for the other 3 occupants of the room. While the idea of Naruto using Kushina's favorite chakra chains wasn't all that surprising, since there was always the chance of Naruto inheriting it, the fact that he could use Minato's Hiraishin or a variation or something related to it showed that Naruto was no longer the same boy that left the village but still had the talent of being the most unpredictable shinobi out there. How is that possible? The chakra chains I could understand since it's possible for it to have been passed down to him genetically from Kushina, and it is an Uzumaki clan technique. But any notes for seal formula for the Hiraishin is either sealed deep within their estate or died with Minato. The only people who could use it is the Hokage protection platoon, but they need to be doing it together to use it, Jiraiya said before quickly adding. And now you're telling me that the Gaki has the Sekirei, one of the famous weapons of the Uzumaki clan? The same sword Kushina brought with her, and is supposed to be sealed in the estate? The Toad Sage asked, to which his response from the Jonin was a nod. Tsunade had grabbed a bottle of sake that had been sitting on her desk and took a quick chug of sake to calm her nerves. After doing so, she looked up at Kakashi. You said there was a 4th thing. What was it? Tsunade asked, though she had a feeling that it was going to give her another headache. Kakashi hesitated for a moment before finally replying. During the fight, Naruto used a technique that wasn't a futon technique on Sasuke. At first I thought it was a katon technique, but Sasuke later clarified that Naruto had said Onmyoton. The moment she heard the word Onmyoton, Tsunade's mind flashed back to her grandmother, Mito Uzumaki, and something she had told Tsunade long ago. Meanwhile, Shizen replied to Kakashi, Onmyoton, as in the non-elemental chakra nature Onmyoton? How is that possible? Are you saying that Naruto-kun has a bloodline? Shizen asked. Maybe, but whether it is or isn't, we don't really know its full potential, or Naruto's to be exact, Kakashi said. I admit that I went in unprepared, mostly hoping not to resort to force. Also because in case we did, I thought he would have been the same kid that left this village 6 years ago. I didn't think he'd have changed so much. That would be an understatement if what I learned is true, Jiraiya said, catching everyone's attention, including Tsunade, who snapped out of her thoughts. What do you mean? Tsunade asked. Remember a few days ago when I said that the mask the Gaki wore sounded familiar? Jiraiya asked. Well, I looked into it, and discovered that starting from 4 years ago a wandering nin had been making a name for himself, doing things such as helping overthrowing corrupting governments or stopping coup d'etat in several countries, said countries being Moon Country, Bird Country and Vegetable Country. The man also helped Hashigakure in overthrowing their corrupt leader, and even helped the High Priestess of Demon Country in defeating an ancient demon called Morio before it could be fully resurrected. And the most notable thing of all is that the person assisted the Kiri rebels in the Civil War, and from what my spies have heard, was the one who defeated Yagura, the Yandere Mizukage and the Sanbai Jinchuriki at the time, all by himself. Jiraiya paused to catch his breath before finishing it off. And so far no one knows what the guy looks like or his real name. The only thing anyone, besides maybe higher-ups in these places, had to go by so far is that the man has red hair and wears a kitsune mask similar to the one that Shino described Naruto wearing. Hence the guy was called Kodama, Fox Spirit, due to his fox mask and that he always appears and disappears on a whim. Shizen, Tsunade and Kakashi all had wide eyes and jaws hitting the floor, the latter excluding Kakashi since he had his mask on. They had no idea that Naruto had become that strong over the past 6 years. But when they thought about it, Naruto was never one to give up giving his strong will and determination, and it also made sense seeing how easily he defeated his former team. Those accomplishments meant that Naruto had to be S rank in skills, hell maybe even greater than that. But that also meant one other thing. That basically also means that in off chance that we have to use force and capture Naruto, which by the sounds of it is going to be hell itself, we'll have to deal with wind, wave, spring, tea, vegetable, bird, moon, demon, water, Sunigekure, Kirigekure, Takigekure, Yukigekure, Getsugekure and Hashigekure? Tsunade basically summed it all up. When Jiraiya nodded she groaned loudly before slammed her head on the table. Apparently she was greatly aggravated because her head but caused the desk to split in two. Shizen immediately left to get another desk, leaving only the Hokage alone with her former teammate and Kakashi. Finally the copycat shinobi spoke. Well, political reasons aside, it might be better to let Naruto live his life. If what Jiraiya-sama said is true, then he's clearly capable of defending himself at nearly anything thrown at him, including Akatsuki. And it's quite clear he has no desire to come back here, and continuing this might only increase his distaste towards the village. Hell, it might make him join another village such as Suna or Kiri. Kakashi explained. Yeah, but for how long? Jiraiya asked before looking at Tsunade. While I agree with Kakashi on this, we also got to look at the cons too, such as the fact that Danzo won't just let Naruto wander around aimlessly or join another village. The Warhawk will take action to get him back and most likely under his control. He won't risk killing him since only an Uzumaki can contain the Kyuubi unless Naruto has a kid. Then there's the fact that Naruto's actions that I've mentioned as well some others put the kid in the top 10 of the bingo books in several villages as well as the black market. According to my sources, the price on his head can set a person for life, and there's no telling if he can take on a large group of people if they gang up on him. Also, I don't think I need to explain about Akatsuki. Everyone in that group is Kage-level shinobi and more experienced than Naruto. And then there's a chance of the leader of Akatsuki going into the fray. There is no telling how strong that person is. You're right, Jiraiya, Tsunade said sadly as she began writing on a scroll that had survived being crushed along with her desk. As much as I hate to do it, it's for the brat's own good if he is returned to the village where he can be better protected. I'll take the possibility of him hating the village and me, and I accept it. I'll also reveal his full heritage when he returns. Hopefully that will get the villagers and shinobi to leave him alone and maybe even convince him to stay. I'll let him live in the Senju compound since I usually live here in the Hokage mansion, and he's technically family anyway. She had finished her sentence at the same time she finished the scroll and handed it to Kakashi. That is the list of those that will be part of the next retrieval team. For now, since we don't know where Naruto is, the members will have to focus on preparing for the confrontation. Also, I want you and your team to tell the others all of the techniques that Naruto used during the fight, at least to give them some measure of being prepared. Also inform them of Naruto's alias too. Kakashi nodded and left a split second later with a shunshin. I have a funny feeling I'm on that list, aren't I, Jiraiya said. Damn straight you are, along with Team 7, 8, 9 and 10 with their teachers minus Kurenai, since either she or Asuma has to stay back to watch over their kid. She's the best choice since I don't think Genjutsu will do much against Naruto. So I'm replacing her with Yugao, whose Kenjutsu should be enough to match Naruto's. Along with that I'm going to send Tenzo, Anko, Iruka and Shizen too, the last two hopefully make him see reason before we have to use force. And in the off chance that things really go to hell, I'll have the Hokage platoon on standby to use the Hiraishin and teleport me to the area. That's a bit extreme, don't you think? Jiraiya asked as he listened to what Tsunade said. Hey, I don't like it either, but you said it yourself that Naruto is about S rank in terms of skills. We don't know the extent of those skills, but he was clearly a match for Team 7 even if their orders were to capture him. Naruto can most likely control the Kyuubi and use its chakra, and since it's clear he won't return to the village willingly, we'll most likely have to use force, and it won't be easy. Sending a large group of people who are tuned into Jonin level is the best chance of bringing him back in the events that negotiations fail. Tsunade replied. Besides, with Tenzo there, he can use his Mokuton to bind Naruto if either Yor or Kakashi can get the necklace on him, and the numbers should be able to take on Akatsuki in the off chance that they encounter them during the mission. And in the event we do use force and bring him back, we'll have hell raining down on us from not just the kid but from a long line of villages and nations, not pleased of having their hero being forced back to his home. Jiraiya added. Yeah, but it's better than having Naruto being captured by Akatsuki, turned into a weapon by another village, or Danzo, or worse, killed just so someone can make a profit from his corpse. The way I see it, it's the lesser of two evils to have him brought back to the village so we can protect him. Tsunade replied before getting up, heading towards the door to exit her office. Going to get a drink, Haim? Jiraiya asked as he watched his former teammate leave the room. He figured that all the shit that's happening now, the decisions she's making, he wouldn't blame for wanting to get drunk to ease her mind. However, her words to his question were different. No, to the Senju compound. There's something of my grandmother's that I need to see to confirm a suspicion of mine. Meanwhile, I want you to get your spy network working on finding Naruto's location. The faster we find it before anyone else does, the better. Tsunade ordered before leaving the office, not even giving Jiraiya a chance of asking what she meant. Konoha, Training Ground 7, Konoha 12. The members of the unofficial Konoha 12-I had gathered at Team 7's former training ground in order to hear from Sasuke and Sakura about their encounter with Naruto. By the time they were finished with the story, the others all had shocked expressions on their faces. After a moment of silence, it was Shino who surprisingly spoke first. I admit I did not expect Naruto-san to have become that powerful. Looking back, I'm glad that I made the logical decisions of not engaging him when I had the chance. The Abirame said. I wonder where Naruto got that sword he was using? Maybe he could let me take a look at it. Tenten said thoughtfully to herself when she heard the sword Naruto wielded as described by Sasuke. Yash, I am happy to know that Naruto's flames of youth have not diminished over the years, Rock Lee said before adding, though the mention of him not wanting to return to the village is most concerning. That's an understatement of the century, Shikamaru Nara said in return. It's a good chance that the Hokage is going to send out another retrieval team, and I have the troublesome feeling it's going to be us. Perhaps not, and maybe Hokage-sama will just leave Naruto-kun alone if he's happier outside the village, Hinata Hyuga said in her usual shy voice. While she was happy to know that her crush was still alive, it also saddened her that he no longer wanted to return to his home. But she knew that he would be a lot happier outside Konoha anyway. She might be thinking that, but she knows that she won't have a choice in the matter, Sasuke said. The risks of him being captured by Akatsuki or another village that wants to increase their strength are too great. And as Shikamaru said before, it's probably a good chance that another team will be sent to retrieve him, and it will most likely be us. You don't think she'll send all of us, do you? Choji asked his best friend Shikamaru, while munching on some chips. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered. If what Sasuke and Sakura says is true, and that they along with Kakashi-sensei and Sai couldn't lay a finger on Naruto, then Hokage-sama will definitely send all of us. So that we can overwhelm him, or maybe that a few of us will be able to convince him to return to Konoha willingly. Also, we have to find him first before anything else. Couldn't you just ask Temari where Naruto might be? Ino asked her teammate. She already left to head back to her village, and even if she was still here, she wouldn't tell me anything. That troublesome woman is too damn stubborn. Hell, I doubt even your father mind reading, Anko-san and Ibiki-san together would be able to get the answers out of her. Shikamaru said, though he was more focused on the fact how this would affect their relationship. Dating someone from another village wasn't simple, you know. It probably won't be that bad, Kiba said suddenly. There's no way he'll be able to stand up against all of us if we gang up on him. And I'd bet after the Hokage apologizes he'll become the same idiot we all know and blow this whole thing over like he always does. Kiba said positively, though it didn't seem like the others shared in the Inuzuka's idea. Doubtful, Sasuke said in response. But either way, until we hear any word of his new location, we won't be going after Naruto for a while, especially if it's in a country that our presence could cause serious problems for the village and Fire Country. Also, Hokage-sama, that this is an S-rank secret, meaning we can't tell anyone, especially the civilians, though she said that the Ichiraku were the sole exception. So that means no gossip talking, Ino Pig, Sakura said to her old friend, half serious and half playful. Hey, I'm not that bad, Ino retorted in her defense before looking towards the others for support, but got only silence. Right. In another place in the village, one of the shinobi's bar, a similar conversation was going on between several people. Kakashi was talking with Asuma, Guy, Yamoto, and Irika about the mission they were given involving Naruto. Kakashi had already told Anko and Yugao respectively, and just like with the 4 men with him, he also filled them in on Naruto's alias. He told them that their students would be informed later on. Currently, he was telling his colleagues about his team's fight with Naruto back in Wind Country a few days ago. When Kakashi finished his tale, the others had looks of surprise and amazement. Damn, Asuma said, being the first to break the silence. I didn't think the kid would have gotten that strong. Though it's kind of hard to believe that he's this Kodama character that I've been hearing about. Same for me, but Jiraiya-sama seems pretty sure that they're one and the same, Kakashi replied. If you look at the achievements that Kodama did, then it would make sense that it's just Naruto's alias. They also have a thing in common: corrupt and cruel individuals. Naruto has always been the one to save people from oppression and unfairness. Iruka added. Still, I must admit that it's hard to believe how much the kid had changed from an orange loudmouth to a S-rank shinobi in just 6 years. Asuma said, still having trouble believing it. Truly, Naruto's flames of youth are brighter than ever if he has accomplished such feats. I look forward to seeing him again, Guy said. I doubt it will be a friendly reunion, Kakashi said. Everyone noticed the depressed tone in his voice. How bad is it? Asuma asked. Kakashi sighed. Well, does the fact that we're bringing Iruka with us help show how bad the situation is? He asked rhetorically before looking at Iruka. No offense, I know your skills are good. But excluding the Ikarakas and Shizun, you're the only other person who was kind to Naruto. You might have a better chance than anyone else in the village. Iruka nodded solemnly as he took all that in. It also wouldn't hurt to get in a bit of training just in case. Guess he could go and ask Anko for some help. Anyway, we're not moving until we know where Naruto is and in a place where our presence won't cause any problems for the village, Kakashi said. Jiraiya-sama and Hokage-sama decided that we'll begin preparing the retrieval team tomorrow as a whole. We'll also have to take in the chance of running into Akatsuki too. The others nodded in agreement. Amigekure. Standing on the edge of the highest tower of the meadow-like village that was Amigekure, was a spiky orange-haired man wearing the Akatsuki cloak. What was unique about him was that covering most of his face were multiple piercings with 3 on both sides of his nose, 2 under his lip and several on his ears. The other thing were his eyes. They were a metallic silver color with a ripple-like pattern in them converging on a tiny black dot-like pupil. Currently the man was simply staring up at the sky, completely ignoring the endless rain falling down on him. Pain, a female voice said from behind. The man, named Pain, turned around and saw a person standing at the entrance of the tower. It was a female, who appeared to be in her 30s-40s and wore the Akatsuki cloak as well. She had blue-colored hair and amber eyes, with a lighter blue paper flower in her hair on the front right side. Like Pain, she also had a piercings but only had one, which was directly underneath her bottom lip. The woman also wore lavender eyeshadow too. He's here, the woman continued. Understood, Conan. Pain said to the woman before entering the tower, spotting a third person. Just like Pain and Conan, the third person, a male, also wore the Akatsuki cloak, but his entire face, minus his black spiky hair, was completely hidden by an orange mask with a swirl that converged onto a single eye hole on the right side of the mask. I assume that Setsu told you about the recent information he gathered on the Kyuubi Jinchuriki Madara, Pain asked the masked man. Said man looked at Pain, and for a brief second, a Sharingan could be seen from the single eye hole on the man's mask. Indeed, and I see that I'm not the only one surprised by what Setsu recorded. Setsu had managed to record the fight between Naruto and his old team in the Land of Wind in order for the Akatsuki scout/spy to gain information on the Jinchuriki's current skill level. Needless to say, the scout was shocked at said boy's skill level, as well as the rest of Akatsuki, when the plant man showed the recorded battle to them the next day. Pain, or Nagato being his real name, was quiet for a while after watching it before finally speaking, giving the order that for now Naruto would be left alone until he came to a decision of how to deal with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. He told the rest of Akatsuki to continue focusing on capturing the other Jinchuriki. To be able to fight 2 Sharingan users, 1 an S-rank shinobi, and escape unscathed is quite an impressive feat, Conan commented, joining in the conversation. Indeed, Madara said in agreement. His use of kenjutsu, wind techniques, and even the chakra chains that his mother could use are impressive. And the technique he used at the end looks similar to the Yondaime Hokage's Hiraishin, the masked man commented. But I believe that the real topic in mind is his sub-element, Onmyotan. A chakra nature that surpasses even the Shodaime Hokage's Mokutan, and an element that only one who wields the Rinnegan can use, Nagato said. The truth actually was that the Rinnegan enabled to use Onmyotan by combining its 2 divided chakra natures, Yin release and Yang release, which is how the Rikudo Sennin, the original bearer of the dojutsu, could use his Banbutsu Sozo no Jutsu, creation of all things technique. And despite his great powers, Nagato's skills were nowhere near the sage's, and he had only been able to use the technique to the extent of controlling several bodies, like he was doing now. But Naruto's Onmyotan allowed Naruto to actually use the chakra nature, along with Yin release and Yang release. Indeed, there has only been one other person who had the Kekkei Genkai and was coincidentally also a member of the Uzumaki clan, Madara said. My grandfather, Sadahiko Uzumaki, Nagato said suddenly. Conan seemed surprised, not that Nagato was an Uzumaki since he told her a long time ago, but that he was the grandson of the most powerful man since the Rikudo Sennin. Madara, however, wasn't surprised either, even though he was wearing a mask covering his face. But the evidence was in his voice, which remained calm and collected, as he said, "So you know." It wasn't a question. "I found out from my mother when I was a child," Pain said quickly, not wanting to bring up those memories of better times. As if reading her old friend's mind, Conan changed the subject. "But that doesn't explain how the Jinchuriki has it. Even if he is from the same clan, that doesn't mean he could have Sadahiko's sub-element. Neither the Shodame's children or grandchildren inherited the Mokutan, and Nagato didn't inherit Amayatan from his grandfather, so why does the boy have it?" she said. Without hesitation, Madara replied, "While you bring up a good point, the best explanation is that, like Nagato, Naruto is also closely related to Sadahiko, being his great-grandson from his mother's side." Conan's eyes widened, as did Nagato's Deva Path, before the latter reverted back to his normal impassive look. "And how did you know that?" Nagato asked, with a hint of edge in his voice this time. Unfazed by it, Madara merely said, "I kept close tabs on the last Kyuubi Jinchuriki, Kushina Uzumaki, when she was alive, and while doing so discovered of her being Sadahiko's granddaughter. I preferred to have tabs on anything related to that man if I could." "But our target is the Jinchuriki, not Sadahiko," Nagato added. "Yes, but that doesn't make it any less dangerous. If the Jinchuriki has the bloodline and mastered it, even if not on the same level as Sadahiko, he could become very difficult to capture. Combined with how he managed to escape from a tracking expert of Kakashi's level, along with the fact we still don't know the full extent of his abilities, we cannot afford to be reckless," Madara rebuked. "You seem to be quite nervous with anything revolving around Sadahiko," Conan said a little bit mockingly. She never did trust the Uchiha, due to her feelings that he was merely using Nagato, and took a little bit of joy at seeing him showing signs other than calm and confident. However, Madara was far from being angry at the hidden insult. "You would too if you saw what that man was capable of," the Uchiha said. "While he is the only other person I have ever respected along with Hashirama, Sadahiko Uzumaki is the only person in the world whom I've also feared too. That man was able to take both Hashirama and myself at the same time and defeated us too. His skills with Amayatan, as well as Fuinjutsu, Kenjutsu, and his clan's solid chakra-shaped manipulation made him a fierce shinobi of unparalleled levels. And don't even get me started on what happened when he was enraged." Soon Madara turned around and began making his way towards the same edge that Pain had been standing just a few moments ago. "After 6 years of staying off the radar, we've finally located the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. We cannot lose him again, and we cannot afford to make any mistakes, not when we're close to completing our goal." And with that, the ancient Uchiha disappeared into thin air, leaving only Pain, Conan, and the endless rain. But the angel of Amigekyo could tell that something was troubling her old friend, judging from the way that Deva Path was staring out into the stormy sky. "Is something wrong, Nagato? You've been very quiet ever since this new info on the Kyuubi Jinchuriki was given," Conan said. At first the god of Amigekyo did not respond, but after a minute Nagato spoke. "Uzushio fell sometime around the beginning of the Third Shinobi World War. So why is it that my mother, and Uzumaki, and furthermore the daughter of the clan leader at the time, was living in this country before Uzushio's fall?" Conan's eyes widened a little as she continued to listen to Nagato. "Until recently I haven't been really thinking about it, my mind focused on other things. But now if the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is indeed connected to Sadahiko Uzumaki in some way, then there is also a chance he might head to Whirlpool Country. If that happens, I will see to his capture personally, and hopefully find an answer to my question." Next day, Land of Spring, Daimyo's Palace. "I really wish I didn't have to wear this every time when I stayed here," Naruto mumbled to himself as he looked in the mirror. Since he revealed to her that he was still alive 4 years ago, Koyuki Kazuhana, the daimyo of Spring Country, had been kind enough to give Naruto a room in the palace whenever he stopped by. Unfortunately, due to the fact he was a guest in a daimyo's palace, Naruto had to look respectable, meaning wearing a kimono instead of his usual outfit, or even just a normal short-sleeved shirt and pants. Hence why he was now wearing a red and black yukata, something that Naruto didn't like. He felt vulnerable in it, though he was probably being paranoid. The good news was that he was allowed to have sekire strapped to his waist, and also he had wristbands with seals on them too. Naruto just let out a sigh as he adjusted the sash before putting on his sandals and walked out the door of his room. He gave a polite nod towards some passerby servants as he headed towards the garden, where a servant told him that Koiki currently was with Kiko and Yujin. Naruto had a feeling that Koiki would normally be doing something politic-related, but it was a good bet that Kiko convinced her using the infamous puppy dog I know jutsu on the Spring Daimyo. There wasn't a single person that had met Kiko who didn't succumb to the triple S rank Kenjutsu along with the little girl's charms. Hell, even Gaara wasn't immune to it, from both Kiko and his own children. A few minutes later, Naruto had arrived to the medium-sized indoor-outdoor garden. Originally it was just an indoor garden including a glass dome over it. The reason is because spring country was still snow country at that time and the glass dome helped protect the flowers from being frozen to death. Of course, now that it wasn't winter 24/7, Koiki had the dome remade to allow someone to open and close it manually. And sitting on a bench at the center of the garden were Koiki, who was playing with Kiko, the little girl, happily laughing as she picked out flowers. Both of them were wearing yukata, Kiko wearing a blue and red yukata while Koiki wore a plain aqua and purple color instead of her more designed one that she wears for appearances during her duties as daimyo. Also in the garden were several light-armored samurai guards and, though not visible, for Yuki means, those that had remained loyal to Koiki and her father when her uncle took over the country, and Yujin, who stood across from the guards but still had Kiko in his sights. Yujin had a very unique appearance. He was taller than a normal human being, between 6 to 7 feet, had a dark green-colored skin, and he had no hair on his head either. His eyes had red scara instead of the normal white, with his eyes being completely black. He wore a simple long-sleeved brown hooded cloak that reached his ankles along with dark blue shinobi pants and shinobi black sandals. The explanation to Yujin's unique appearance was simple: he wasn't human. The Rakuta Sennin created Yujin using his Banbutsu Sozo no Jutsu, creation of all things technique, 1,000 years ago. This made Yujin the only being alive who was older than the Bijus. The reason for his creation was because the sage wanted Yujin to watch over the world after his passing, to record the history of the world and one day aid the one who would take the sage's mantle as the savior of the world. During the first few years since his creation, Yujin had befriended the Uzumaki clan. He had a lot in common with them, namely their interest in history and knowledge, and Yujin swore loyalty to the Uzumaki clan for eternity. When Yuzushio was being invaded, Yujin was given the task of safeguarding the underground vault that housed the clan's important scrolls and relics so to keep them out of the hands of the unworthy, and to help survivors of the clan that ever came back to Whirlpool Country. That's how Naruto met him, when said boy came to the island after learning about his lineage. That was actually about 2 months after he left Konoha, and since then Yujin has faithfully served Naruto for the past 6 years, along with babysitting Kiko when Naruto was busy. And if he wasn't available, well, let's just say Naruto never had to worry about finding a babysitter for Kiko. His thoughts were cut off when his daughter's voice shouted, "Daddy!" And soon said girl ran towards him. Naruto barely had enough time to grab Kiko into a hug, but still managed to do it, and took comfort as he felt his daughter's warmth against his body. Even though it was for a brief second, that was enough for Naruto to feel like he finally had a light in his life of dark misery and pain. When he put her down, Kiko still had the same smile Naruto always had when he was younger, another sign of their daughter-father bond. "Auntie Koyuki and I are making crowns. See?" she said as she showed Naruto a band of flowers in her hand. "This yours?" she said cutely as she put it into Naruto's hand. Naruto smiled softly as he took it, rubbing his daughter's head. "Thank you, Kiko-chan," he said with kindness. His response was a beaming smile from Kiko, who quickly ran back to another batch of flowers, now focusing on making another crown for herself and for her auntie Koyuki. As she was doing that, with Yujin near her, Naruto sat down on the bench beside Koyuki, both of them looking at the little redhead. After a few moments of comfortable silence, Naruto spoke. "Thanks again for letting me, Kiko-chan and Yujin-san stay in your palace for a few days, Koyuki-chan," the older redhead said to the spring daimyo. "No problem, Naruto-kun. I'm always happy to have you and Kiko-chan over. That and my movie director is very grateful to you for letting them turn your book into a movie," Koyuki said, her comment making Naruto scratch the back of his sheepishly. 3 years after his banishment, and completing his Onmyotan training, Naruto began writing a book calling it Wandering Spirit by the Crimson Tide, the alias he used instead of his real name. The story was mostly based off of his own personal life. It told the tale of a person who was betrayed by the people he swore to protect and his life afterwards as he traveled the world, seeking to find his place in life. The story was a mix of drama, adventure, and some comedy and sexual scenes in the book too. To be honest, Naruto didn't really plan on publishing it, and it took some coaxing from Yujin and Sadahiko to release his ideas. By the end of the first set of 6 months, the book had become a tremendous hit, easily being more popular than Jiraiya's Ika Ika series. The money he got was greatly welcome to help Naruto survive, and now being used to help Kiko too. So after 3 more years, Naruto had already published 2 more books with the series, all of them tremendous hits with no one able to figure out he was the writer. Naruto had revealed to Koyuki he was the writer, with her director begging to turn the book into a movie, with Koyuki starring as the main female character, of course. Naruto was sort of uncomfortable with the idea but eventually agreed, if not to see what it looks like on film, and the extra money would be appreciated. "It was no problem, just make sure that myself and the others get free tickets for it," Naruto said jokingly. "Of course," Koyuki replied in similar joking manner with a giggle after it. The two once more entered a moment of comfortable silence as they watched Kiko, who was still skimming for suitable flowers. But after a few minutes, Naruto noticed that Koyuki looked uncomfortable, like she wanted to ask him something but was nervous to speak. Is something wrong? Naruto asked her. Koyuki hesitated for a second but finally managed to speak. Well, I know that it doesn't sound like a big deal, but ever since I saw you with your hair dyed red, I assumed that it was because Kiko inherited her mother's red hair, and you wanted people to think she got it from you, the daimyo said. Ah, so that's the reason why she hesitated, Naruto thought to himself. Koyuki probably thought it would have given Naruto bad memories of mentioning Kiko-chan's physical traits, that she assumed Kiko got her hair color from her mother. But that was far from the truth. The Uzumaki clan, mine and my mother's clan, were not just known for our long lives and mastery of Fuinjutsu, but also that every member was born with red hair, Naruto said to Koyuki, who was listening intently. I dyed my hair in order to hide my identity a little bit but also to honor my clan. Kiko-chan got her red hair from me. That surprised Koyuki a little. She had heard about the Uzumaki clan and how they lived on the now deserted Whirlpool country. But she had still assumed that Kiko had inherited her hair color from her mother. So Kiko-chan didn't inherit her red hair from her mother's side? Koyuki asked. Naruto chuckled, but it was an empty chuckle. Kiko-chan didn't inherit anything from her mother because there was no mother, he replied dryly. Before Koyuki could ask what he meant by that, when Naruto suddenly jolted a little. The emergency alert seal I left for Gaara at Suna just activated, Naruto said to a confused Koyuki. A seal I gave to Gaara in case if he ever had to contact me for something. It sends the chakra of the user to me, and judging by the surge of it, it must be very important, Naruto explained as he looked at a glowing seal on his wristband. Then he looked at Koyuki. I'm sorry to do this after I just got here, but could you? Koyuki waved her hand. It's fine, your friend the Kazekage might be in trouble, so you should hurry, the spring daimyo said. Naruto smiled gratefully before looking at Yujin. Yujin, I'm heading back to Suna for a bit. When you get the chance, try and look into that thing I asked. Yujin bowed. Yes, Naruto-sama, he said respectfully. Naruto looked at Kiko, the girl looking at him with her innocent childlike eyes. Naruto smiled kindly at her. Daddy needs to go and see something, but I'll be right back. So be good for Auntie Koyuki, sweetie, Naruto said before teleporting in a red flash towards Sunagakure through his Mikado, God's Gate technique. 2 days later, River Country. Near the border between Wind and Rain Country, 3 figures could be seen moving, or flying in one's case, at a casual pace. The first 2 were human and wore long dark blue cloaks with red clouds along with conical straw hats with the small ornamental torques and tassels covering their faces. The first one was a male and seemed pretty normal in appearance, and looked to be relatively young, somewhere in between his late teens and early 20s. An odd thing about him was that his left arm was missing, with the sleeve of said arm torn apart at the end. His companion was the more odd-looking one. This person was a male but was hunched back and thus shorter than the first male. The third being wasn't a human but instead a giant white owl flying near the ground but above the 2 men. Wrapped securely in its tail was the unconscious form of Gaara, who was also covered in bruises. The one-armed male spoke. We should be near the hideout soon, yeah, the male said. The hunchback one grunted in response. We would have gotten there sooner if you hadn't taken so long, Deidara, he said, annoyed. Hey, that's not fair, Sasori-sama. It's not my fault that the Jinchuriki was so skilled with that sand of his, yeah? The one named Deidara said in his defense. You got cocky and didn't bring enough clay with you when you had the chance after we were done sealing the sandby, Sasori countered. Now because of that you're missing an arm, and I doubt Kakuzu will attach a new one for you for free. Though his hat was covering his face, you could tell Deidara had an annoyed look on his face at the realization. The 2 continued walking for several more minutes, having gone back to a comfortable silence. But it was suddenly broken when a whirling noise in the wind could be heard from behind them. The 2 spun around and Deidara just narrowly avoided being impaled in the face by a kunai. Where the hell did that come from, Deidara exclaimed as he looked for the perpetrator. So there was someone else besides that makeup-wearing kid following us, Sasori mumbled to himself as he shifted his attention from the ninjato in front of him to check the rear along with Deidara. As the 2 were trying to find the person who threw the kunai, either of them paid any heed to the sky as it darkened before overhead. Wait, why was the sky darkening? What the? Deidara asked himself as he looked above him just in time to see Naruto dive towards him with a double-bladed edge ninjato in hand. Once again Deidara was saved by just a few seconds as a silver scorpion-shaped tail lunged at Naruto. The Uzumaki managed to deflect the attack and do midair backward flip away from the 2 Akatsuki members. Damn, Naruto said as he resealed the ninjato. I was hoping that I could finish you both off quickly. Guess that was thoughtful thinking. Deidara, his hat having already come off and revealing his long blonde hair along with his eye scope, narrowed his eyes at the newcomer. Hey Sasori-sama, isn't that? Yes, Sasori said as his hat also came off, revealing his 3 gray hair strands sticking up from his head along with his mouth being covered by a black cloth. Sticking out from the back of his cloak was the silver scorpion tail. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki aka Kodama. Looks like I'll be taking down Itachi's target. I can't wait to see the look on his face, Deidara said with a cruel smirk forming on his face. Naruto didn't seem affected by the declaration. He merely drew Sekirei and got into a fighting stance. He was wearing a black coat with long sleeves along with a hood and red lines running all over the coat, forming a whirlpool at the back. Underneath it was a dark blue shirt and mesh shirt under it, along with long black shinobi pants and black sandals too. Naruto was also wearing his normal fingerless black gloves and red bracers over the coat's sleeves. You guys have 2 choices, Naruto said in a calm but at the same time threatening voice. Release Gaara willingly, and I'll give you a painless death, or this time Naruto's blue eyes darkened, giving off the feeling of a heartless demon and the coldest area on the planet at the same time. I take Gaara back by force and give you both a painful death. Which one do you choose? With Naruto. Naruto was pissed off at the 2 members of Akatsuki for 2 reasons. The first one was obvious. They were planning on taking Gaara and extracting Shikaku from him, thus killing Naruto's best friend. That alone would have been reason enough to be angry and kill these bastards. But the real reason that angered Naruto was that these people were going to take Gaara away from his family, his siblings, his wife, his children. Children who would never grow up with a father to love them and protect them, just like what Naruto had to go through too. It would be hell on earth when Naruto was going to even allow something like that to happen. Funryu Teijin, jet step, Naruto murmured, and with wind chakra flowing underneath his feet Naruto shot forward right in front of Deidara. The IWA bomber barely had any time to react when Naruto slammed a wind chakra-enhanced fist into his stomach. Kugen, Air Force! And a pressure of wind from the fist struck Deidara and sent him flying backwards several feet, while at the same time crashing through trees along the way. Fast Sasori thought just as Naruto spun around towards his direction. Raising his left leg, Naruto unleashed another Kugen with his feet. But Sasori surprisingly jumped away easily despite his body's build. All that Naruto hit was the ground, creating a decent-sized crater. The former Sunanin launched his metal scorpion tail at Naruto, trying to impale him. But Sasori was in for a shock when Naruto did a brief jump and with one hand, stood on top of the silver tail in midair and swiftly followed it up with a backwards jump towards the clay owl. Sasori's eyes widened as he realized that the owl was Naruto's target. The cloth covering his mouth ripped apart, revealing Sasori's odd mouth as it fired a barrage of senbons from it at Naruto. However, if Naruto was surprised, it didn't show as he used his red-bladed sword to deflect the barrage of senbons before slicing the owl's head off. Without the head, the owl lost its balance and began to fall, releasing its precious cargo at the same time. Without wasting a breath, Naruto nicked his finger, drawing some blood. He quickly spread the blood across the summoning seal on his bracer. Kuchios no Jutsu. And a poof of smoke appeared before revealing the dark red fox with yellow stripes. Doro appeared. Doro-san. Grab Gaara and take him back to the village, Naruto ordered. Understood, Naruto-sama. The fox replied as he wrapped the unconscious Gaara's form with his large tail. Once he had secured his package safely around his tail, the large kitsune dashed quickly towards Sunagakure. Damn it! You're not getting away! Sasori yelled as he lifted his left arm and revealed his left arm, which was some kind of gauntlet with several wooden cylinders attached to it. Before Naruto could figure out what he was doing, the gauntlet attached to Sasori's left arm suddenly fired at a fast pace towards Doro. I'll use my poison senbons to kill and stop the fox. It's protecting the Jinchuriki enough that he won't be harmed, Sasori thought as he watched his projectile fly towards Doro. But just as it was about to release its contents, 1,000 or more senbons, Naruto suddenly jumped in between it and Doro, taking the full brunt of the flying senbons. What? Sasori exclaimed as he watched the Kyuubi Jinchuriki being turned into a pincushion. But Naruto quickly dispelled into smoke a few seconds later. Shadow clone! Sasori exclaimed. Then where is the real? His thoughts were cut off when he saw a shadow above him. Looking up, the puppet user saw Naruto diving towards him with a Rasengan in his right hand. Rasengan! Naruto shouted as he slammed the spiraling sphere of chakra right into Sasori's body and exploded into multiple flying pieces of wood and metal. Naruto was momentarily surprised since he was expecting the body to be crushed and Sasori to spit large amounts of blood from his mouth. But he quickly put 2 and 2 together when he saw a cloak being jump away from the mangled mess before Naruto's attack hit it. I see it now, Naruto said as he stood on opposite ends of the cloak being, the broken body of Sasori in the middle. You made an armor-type puppet to get rid of a puppeteer's usual weakness of close-range combat. As expected of the infamous Akasuna no Sasori, Sasori of the Red Sand. Naruto commented. I'm honored to receive such praise from the Kodama, Fox Spirit, Sasori said as he removed his cloak, revealing his young tan face, short and unruly red hair and Akatsuki cloak. Your skills and Onmyotan bloodline will make you a suitable puppet once we've extracted the Kyuubi, Sasori commented. He looks a lot younger than what I expect from a 30-year-old man. Hell, he doesn't look like he's aged at all. Well, as a privilege as it would be, I must deny it since I rather enjoy living and still have a long life ahead of me, Naruto commented as he readied Sekirei. Then he added, but I think your friend is a little pissed. Floating atop a white clay bird behind Naruto was a bruised and angry Deidara. The long blonde hair man was glaring hatefully at Naruto, as if trying to bore holes into the Uzumaki's head. His right hand was clenched in a fist, though Naruto couldn't tell if it was because of rage or he was making another clay bomb. Deidara, stay out of this. In your current condition you're no match for him, Sasori said as he dug through his cloak at the same time. Screw that, this bastard got in a lucky shot and took away the Jinchuriki I worked hard on capturing. Also, I haven't shown him the beauty of my art, and I intend to make it the last thing he sees, and the IWA bomber exclaimed as he opened his remaining palm, revealing 2 small clay birds. TCH fine, but don't get in the way of my art, Sasori said as he pulled out a scroll and went unraveling it and showed the kanji for 3. Smoke soon appeared a few seconds later, and when it dispersed it revealed another puppet. This puppet had a male appearance, and was a few inches taller than Sasori. It had short black spiky hair and yellow eyes and wore a brown cloak with a fur collar. Why does that puppet's face look so familiar? Naruto asked himself as he studied the puppet. He recalled seeing a statue of an important person in Sunagekure that looked similar to Sasori's puppet. It was when he recalled what Chio said in regards to the special kinds of puppets that Sasori made did Naruto figure it out. The Sandaime Kazekage, Naruto murmured in shock as he stared at what was once the strongest shinobi in Suna's history, reduced to a mere puppet. I see that you figured it out. Grandma must have told you, Sasori said calmly, though he was slightly amused at seeing the hidden shock on Naruto's face. He always did enjoy seeing that look on his opponents when they learned his puppets were made from people's corpses. Naruto managed to collect himself just as a clay bird appeared next to him. The redhead jumped away from the clay bird as it exploded and jumped towards Deidara while sending 2 shadow clones to deal with Sasori and his puppet. Naruto jumped onto a branch just as Deidara threw his second clay bird that grew in size as it flew towards Naruto. But instead of trying to dodge it, Naruto leapt towards the bird, doing a spin in midair, Sekirei out. With a clean swipe, Naruto cut the clay bird straight down the middle, avoiding being hit by the explosion. That seemed to have angered Deidara, but the IWA bomber remained calmed. I might be low on clay, but as long as I stay in the sky then I'm safe, yeah. Hey, it's not like he can fly or anything, Deidara thought. But Naruto soon murmured to himself, Tsukai, skywalk. And channeling wind chakra into his feet, Naruto began walking in the air towards Deidara. The IWA bomber was completely shocked. To him, the technique Naruto was using was similar to the Sandaime Tsuchikage technique. In fact, Deidara was in so much shock that he didn't have any time to react to Naruto's next move. After sealing Sekirei back in his bracer, Naruto focused fire chakra in his right index finger. Raising his hand towards Deidara, Naruto muttered, Nensho Dangan, combustion bullet. And with a snap of the finger, literally, Naruto fired a fireball the size of a hand towards Deidara. His sixth sense kicking in, Deidara did a backward jump from his clay bird just as the fireball made contact with it. When it did, the fireball exploded, going about a block wide as it consumed the bird and Deidara. Naruto watched as a figure fell from the large ball of smoke towards the ground. He couldn't tell if the Akatsuki IWA bomber was dead or not, but for now he wouldn't be bothering Naruto. Now he could focus on Sasori and his Sandaime Kazekage. Already the two had taken out his 2 shadow clones with relative ease. If what Chiyobakan said is true, then that puppet can use the Sandaime's Jitan Iron Sand, Naruto thought as he looked down from his spot in the sky. I should probably take him on at close quarters so he can't use Iron Sand techniques. It's risky since that puppet will probably have melee weapons coated with poison, but my immune system will take care of that, and I got your back too, right, Kurama? The Kyuubi inside of him snorted. Please, brat, like I let my partner die from something as poison, Kurama said with a smirk. Okay then, let's go, Naruto said as he added more wind chakra into his feet. Funryu Teijin, jet step. And Naruto fired himself towards Sasori at an incredible speed. But Sasori saw it and reacted immediately. I'm amazed that you managed to defeat Deidara so quickly, but I'll show you the power of my art. Senju Sobu, Thousand Hands Manipulation Force, Sasori said as the Sandaime Kazekage puppet lifted its left arm and several compartments opened from the arm, revealing summoning seals in them. Suddenly thousands of arms launched out from the seals straight towards Naruto. Naruto saw the attack coming towards him. Don't think you can take me down that easily, Naruto said as he managed to stop himself in mid-air and performed several hand signs at lightning speed. On Mayatan, Tenkyo Hashiakari, Yin-Yang Release, Celestial Starlight. And then Naruto clasped both hands together into a fist, with the fist glowing blue and then shooting out 50 bluish-green energy beams towards the oncoming mass of hands. When the beams connected with the hands and upon doing so, exploded, destroying the hands much to Sasori's aggravation. Satetsu Shigure, Iron Sand Drizzle, Sasori said as hundreds of small bullets of iron sand shot towards Naruto from the Sandaime Kazekage puppet. Shit! Naruto cried. He must have released it sometime during the fight with my clones. Naruto thought as he saw the bullets flying towards him. Acting quickly, he shot a chakra chain out from his back. The chain impaled into the ground and Naruto used it to pull himself out of the iron sand's path. Sasori's eyes widened when he saw the chains. That's the standard form of the Uzumaki clan's solid chakra-shaped manipulation. I guess that confirms his connection with them. He'll definitely be a good puppet when this is over. The puppeteer thought as he recalled the iron sand. At the same time, he disconnected the now damaged thousand hands from the puppet's left arm, revealing a buzzsaw underneath it. At the right arm, several blades in the form of a claw appeared and Naruto noticed that it was covered in poison. You did well in dodging the first attack, but let's see how well you do with this. Sasori asked as he did some quick finger movements. Satetsu Keshu, Iron Sand Gathering Assault. The particles of iron sand began to merge with each other, and soon formed large steel-like weapons floating in the air. He must be planning on using those things to attack me from a distance, probably to obscure my vision and take me out with the puppet using a surprise attack. Naruto thought as unsealed Sekirei and held the red-bladed sword in his right hand. Sasori saw this action but nevertheless launched the large blocks of iron sand towards Naruto. But the Uzumaki wasn't the least bit concerned as he readied Sekirei. Then in just a few seconds after doing so, Naruto thrust the blade forward and to Sasori's shock, the blade extended greatly as it charged towards the blocks of iron sand. The former Sunanin was even for more of a shock when the blade pierced the heavy masses of iron sand and sliced them apart with ease. It should also be noted that the blade kept changing directions while doing so. What? Sasori asked in shock, showing it physically for the first time. Naruto smirked as Sekirei's blade retracted before returning in its original form. Chakra metal weapons are made so that the wielder can surround the metal with their chakra. Sekirei's blade is made out of a special kind of metal that lets me focus my chakra within the blade. Not only does this allow me to increase its weight and sharpness considerably, but I can also manipulate its size and length too. Naruto explained mockingly to Sasori. Sasori grinded his teeth together in anger at how insulted he felt. Damn you! Sasori yelled as he launched the Sandaime Kazekage puppet towards Naruto at blinding speed. In just a few seconds the puppet was upon Naruto, and swung both its arms in a scissor-like fashion in order to pin down Naruto. But once again Sasori underestimated Naruto as the Uzumaki managed to easily dodge the attack by crouching. Planting Sekirei firmly in the ground, Naruto clapped both hands together like a prayer almost. But soon chakra began to gather around the arms and hands, black Yin chakra around the right arm and white Yang chakra around the left arm, and the two merged together at the hands to look like the tip of a spear. Hasaki, Juso, Blade Edge, Dual Spear, Naruto said as he thrust his still clasped hands forward. When it made contact with the puppet's chest, a powerful force of energy was unleashed in the shape of a spear that completely obliterated most of the puppet's body, sending pieces flying backwards. Sasori watched in shock and disbelief as one of his favorite puppets was destroyed so easily. But he had little time to mourn as Naruto reappeared right beside him, his left hand covered with wind chakra. Kugen, Air Force! Naruto shouted as he slammed the palm of his hand into Sasori's right side and sent the puppeteer flying. Time to finish this. Naruto mumbled to himself as he retrieved Sekirei and charged forward towards Sasori, fully intending on ending this battle right now. But when he neared the down Akatsuki member, Sasori suddenly lifted his right arm, revealing a pipe sticking out of the palm. Before Naruto could stop, a stream of fire shot out of the pipe right towards Naruto. Fortunately, Naruto managed to lift up his left bracer and activate a chakra shield, protecting him from the flames, though the bottom of his coat got singed a bit. Well, that was unexpected, Naruto muttered to himself as he looked at his coat, making a note to have it fixed when this was over. I admit that you're a lot tougher than I originally estimated, Sasori's voice said as he got up, removing his cloak at the same time. I haven't fought someone so strong since the Sandaime Kazekage. Proof to that is that you managed to destroy the puppet too. The missing nin finished as he fully stood up, revealing himself to Naruto. A thick cable around a pole stuck out of Sasori's stomach cavity, completely coated with poison. Sticking out of Sasori's hips was a pair of poles with 5 large blades attached to each of them. Naruto could also make out what appeared to be a scroll holder attached to Sasori's back. Finally, sticking out of the left side of Sasori's chest was some kind of object that had the kanji for scorpion on it. I can't even remember the last time I had to use myself, Sasori said as he stood on top of the cable and was above the ground a few feet. Naruto just blinked at the guy for a few seconds. Finally he spoke. I don't know why, but I feel like I should have seen this coming, he said. Sasori cocked his head to the side. You know, normally when people see this they tend to show a bit more shock, Sasori commented. Hey, you'd be surprised by the things I've seen these past 6 years, Naruto replied with a shrug. Fair enough, Sasori said before raising both arms upwards, revealing pipes in both palms. Now then, let's continue. And he fired 2 powerful streams of intense fire at Naruto. Naruto quickly used Funryu Teijin, Jet Step, and took to the air before switching to Tsukai, Skywalk, and was now walking in the air. He managed to avoid the flames but couldn't really get near Sasori as the puppeteer directed his flames upwards. Damn, doesn't look like he'll let me get close enough, going to have to try another tactic, Naruto thought to himself as he landed back on the ground. Sasori immediately fired his flamethrowers again towards him. Suetun, Suijin Hiki, Water Release, Water Formation Wall, Naruto said as he finished the hand seals and released a large amount of water from his mouth. The stream of water formed into a wall between Naruto and the flames, taking said flames head on. While he was doing that, Naruto formed another set of hand seals and Kagebushin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Technique, and formed a clone on his right. The shadow clone ran around the wall of water and then made a dash towards Sasori while the puppeteer was focused on the original. As if I would fall for such an obvious ploy, Sasori shouted as he directed his left arm towards the clone and released his flames towards it. The clone didn't even have time to dodge as the flames engulfed it, dispelling the clone immediately. On Mayatan, Hitsu no Shuriken, Inyang Release, Sun Star Shuriken, another voice from Sasori's right cried. Leaping towards him was a second Naruto clone. This time holding in its hand was a large yellow glowing object in the shape of a shuriken. The first clone was a decoy, Sasori thought as the second clone threw the disc at the puppeteer. The disc was spinning so fast that it did actually look like a sun almost, but Sasori didn't have any time to enjoy it as he desperately tried to dodge the oncoming attack. He managed to jump backwards out of the disc's range, but not fast enough, for the disc managed to cut off half of Sasori's left arm, including his Akatsuki ring that was on the left thumb. The disc continued flying, cutting through the ground and trees as it flew upwards and soon dissipated. But Sasori was more focused on the second clone as he glared at it before shooting flames from his remaining right arm, dispelling the second clone soon after. The sound of feet hitting grass caught the puppeteer's attention, and Sasori saw the original Naruto charging towards him. Shit, I was so focused on the clones that I forgot about the original. And I'm out of flames too, Sasori thought before quickly improvising. He fired his stinger from his stomach right at Naruto, intending on impaling the Jinchuriki and subduing him with the poison mixed with the cable. But Naruto didn't fall to such a ploy as he did a jump into the air, dodging the cable before landing just a few inches from Sasori. Without wasting a second, Naruto swung Sekirei in a sideways slash right towards Sasori's head, only to have the red blade blocked by one of the blades attached to the pole from Sasori's left hip. Suddenly the 5 blades began to spin at once, like a propeller, and the sudden force knocked Sekirei out of Naruto's hand, sending the sword flying to the side. Taking Naruto's momentary distraction, Sasori did a spin, sending the propeller on his right side towards Naruto. But instead of hitting Naruto, said person vanished from the spot and reappeared several feet away from Sasori. Sticking out of the ground beside Naruto's left leg was one of his double-edged ninjato. Neither of them seemed tired in the least. This was due to Sasori being a puppet and Naruto having god-level amounts of stamina. However, with one arm missing, Sasori knew that he was at a disadvantage against the Uzumaki. Also, it was clear that Naruto could outmaneuver Sasori in several different ways with the use of his clones and his space-time ninjutsu. I guess I'll have to fight him with numbers if I want to end this, Sasori thought to himself, as he used his right hand to emit chakra string and grabbed one of the scrolls on his back. Akahiji, Hayaki no Son, Red Secret Technique, Performance of 100 Puppets, Sasori said to himself as he unraveled the scroll and released hundreds of puppets from it, all of them armed with weapons and wearing red cloaks. Then Sasori opened a hidden compartment from his right chest, firing thousands of chakra strings from it, all of them attaching to the puppets and holding them in mid-air. The last time I used this technique was when I conquered a small nation, the puppeteer finished while covering his face with his right hand. He lifted his head up slightly and glared at Naruto. I must admit that having to use this technique on one person, despite who it is quite insufferable, Sasori claimed. Then at least half of the puppets launched forward, heading straight for Naruto. While he was surprised of how many puppets Sasori was able to control, Naruto regained his focus and began to counter the oncoming threat. On Mayatan, Hyro Kabiki no Jutsu, Inyang Release, Grey Wall Sphere Technique, And then a gray-colored sphere appeared around Naruto. The sphere didn't look very strong, but when the first wave of puppets struck it, they were momentarily stunned before being sent back, crashing into several other puppets behind them. With an opening now available, Naruto deactivated the barrier and charged forward towards Sasori, dodging and smashing several puppets along the way, his focus only on the puppeteer. Sasori, however, would have none of that as he focused his puppets on performing a pincer move, completely surrounding Naruto as they dove in for the kill. But once again Naruto surprised Sasori when dozens of golden chains popped out of Naruto's back, impaling multiple puppets at once. When the puppets were taken care of, Naruto retracted the chains back into his body before activating his right arm bracer, releasing a blade of chakra from it. He aimed directly for the Sasori's right chest, where the puppeteer's weakness was. Sasori tried to get out of the way but realized he couldn't. Looking down, Sasori discovered that another of Naruto's clones had dug underground and its arms were currently holding Sasori's legs, keeping him in place. "Eat this!" Naruto yelled as he drove the chakra blade hard into Sasori's compartment of flesh. Within seconds the light in Sasori's eyes faded and his body went limp, dead as a doornail. Sasori of the Red Sand was finally dead at the hands of Naruto the Fox Spirit. With the sound of puppets falling to the ground behind him, Naruto calmly deactivated his chakra blade, causing blood to pour out of the damaged core of flesh freely. The clone below Sasori dispelled, allowing the body to fall freely to the ground. "Well, that was interesting," Naruto said to himself as he cracked his neck before collecting the Sekirei and his ninjatos. Inside Naruto's seal, Kurama snorted. "TCH, that didn't even take long. You didn't even use my chakra," Kurama grumbled. "I didn't see any need to. If there were a reason, then I would have used it. Besides, this way I can surprise Akatsuki the next time I run into them," Naruto said as he sealed Sekirei. "Fair point," Kurama replied, but still sounded annoyed. "So what now? Head back to Spring Country?" "Not yet," Naruto replied as he looked at Sasori's body. "I want to head back to Suna to make sure Doro got Gaara back there in one piece, though he'll probably get an earful from Temari and Matsuri for getting himself captured. And I can probably collect the bounty on Sasori's head and tell them about the Sandaime Kazekage's actual fate. Chiyobakan deserves closure knowing her grandson is dead too. Kankuro might be able to use this puppet too," Naruto replied as he picked up Sasori's body and, once secured, used Mikado to teleport himself to Suna. With the coast now clear, Zetsu slowly rose up from the ground, surveying the damage as he did so. "Wow, that was some fight, huh?" White Zetsu asked his black half. "Yeah, but the Jinchuriki didn't even look remotely tired from the battle. Sasori was clearly way over his head in this one, and it cost him big time," Black Zetsu responded as the two merged beings walked towards Sasori's severed left arm. "At least we're able to retrieve Sasori's ring," White Zetsu said as they picked up the arm. Once they removed the ring, they tossed the arm to the side without a care in the world. "What should we do now?" White Zetsu asked his black counterpart. "We'll look for Deidara to see if he's still alive or collect his ring if he's dead. Either way, I don't think we'll be able to go after the Achibi for some time," Black Zetsu replied before the merged being began walking off, searching for the former IWA Nin bomber. Konoha, back of Hokage Monument, ANBU Training Ground. The ANBU Training Ground was a ground specifically for Konoha's ANBU. It was forbidden from all other shinobi ranks, even jonins, and especially to civilians, though it was kept classified from the civilians as well as genin and chunin level shinobi. The only other personnel that were allowed into the training ground besides ANBU were former ANBU. They would need permission from the Hokage, though, the Hokage and other higher ranked shinobi such as the Sannin. However, the group present there did not consist of ANBU but rather an assortment of different shinobi level people. It was made up of several teams, being teams 7, 8, 9 and 10 along with their jonin instructors. With them also were the ANBU Yugao Yuzuki, Tenzo now called Yamato, and Jiraiya. The only person who was missing was Kurenai, leader of Team 8, not being involved in the mission so she could take care of her and Asuma's child. "Okay, I assume that you all know why you're here," Jiraiya said to the gathered people. "Our objective is to retrieve Naruto Uzumaki, former genin of Konoha and the current Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Until we receive solid info of his current location, we'll be working on teamwork and countering whatever we can expect from Naruto. Because of that, I brought this with me," the Toad Sage said as he took out a copy of the recent bingo book with a bookmark in it. "A bingo book?" Sakura asked when she saw said object. "Wait, don't tell me that the dead last is in it," Kiba exclaimed, finding the idea of Naruto being in the book that labeled Wanted Shinobi being stupid, despite from what he heard from Sasuke and Sakura. A part of him also felt jealous, as it was a wound to his pride too. "I'm serious. Naruto has done some incredible things over the past 6 years that earned him a place in this book. However, he's known as the Kodama since he's been keeping his real identity a secret. The page of his profile is the one that is bookmarked." Jiraiya said as he tossed the book towards Shikamaru, the closest person. The Jonins had already read the page about Naruto, and when the younger members read it they had the same expression the adults did, complete and utter shock. Name, Kodama, Fox Spirit, real name unknown. Age unknown. Estimate between 19 to 21. Gender male. Origin unknown. Shinobi rank, Wandering Nin. Caliber rank S. Known alias, Kodama, Fox Spirit, and Ikaro Senko, Red Flash. Clan affiliation, possibly Uzumaki clan. Known elements, Futon, Katon, Suiton, Raiton, and a fifth unknown element. Skill list. Taijutsu 5. Ninjutsu 5. Genjutsu 1. Intelligence 4.5. Strength 4.5. Speed 5. Stamina 5. Hand seals 4.5. Weapons, multiple double-edged ninjato with no guard, and wields a unique sword. A katana made of red metal with a round black guard and black handle with red-shaped diamonds. Physical description, stands at about 5 feet 5 inches and weighs 205 pounds. Face not visible but has short red spiky hair and tan skin. Usually wears a long hooded black cloak with red stripes over it, and a large red whirlpool on the back. Also wears a red kitsune mask with blue lines going over it. Special abilities, is highly skilled in ninjutsu, fuinjutsu and kenjutsu and can use space-time ninjutsu similar to Konoha Kiroi Senko's technique. Also can create multiple shadow clones, solid chakra shape manipulation and has at Kage level chakra. Known family, unknown. Additional information, helped the Kiri rebels win the civil war. Killed Vigura the Yondaime Mizukage and the Sanbai Jinchuriki. Also killed Gari of the Wagakyu's Explosion Corps, former members of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist Kushimaru Kurirer and Jinpachi Munashi, wiped out Kyumogakure Kinkaku force and defeated the Nibi Jinchuriki Yujito-ni of Kyumogakure and the Gobi Jinchuriki Han of the Wagakure. Advise, Genin and Chunin level shinobi should flee on sight and Jonin level shinobi should approach with caution. Bounty. 75 million Ryo, dead or alive, Iwagakure. 75 million Ryo, alive, Odogakure. 80 million Ryo, dead or alive, Kyumogakure. Holy shit, Sasuke murmured the shared thought the other rookie 12 had. We've also have additional information that Naruto has assisted several other villages and nations over the years, the most prominent being Hashigakure along with Bird Country, Vegetable Country, Demon Country and Moon Country. These actions, while gaining him fame within those countries, have also earned him the ire of several underworld forces. And now the kid has a large bounty on his head in the black market. Hell, it's higher than Shiraku, a fellow former Guardian 12, and mine combined. Asuma told the group after they got out of their shock. I know that you're all shocked and there are probably a lot of you not believing what you just saw. Jiraiya said the last part, giving a sharp look at Kiba, who was about to speak, to stay quiet. But it's the truth, Naruto is now a powerful shinobi and can probably take on a Kage without much trouble if defeating Yagura is anything to go by. This also shows that we need to be at our best and fully prepared when we go after him. If I may, Jiraiya-sama, Shino said with his usual monotone voice. But after hearing about Naruto's life here, combined with what we just learned regarding his current level of power as well as his relationships with various countries, is it really wise for us to try and bring him back to the village? To me, this would not just be illogical but suicidal for both the village and us. If Naruto is really at the level you say he is, then it will be near impossible for us to bring him back. And even if we somehow did, we would not escape unscathed, and it's most likely that these various villages and nations will take the forced capture of their hero most unwell. The Aburame finished. Kiba scoffed. Come on, Shino, you make it sound like the Doge doesn't want to come back? I believe that is what I was saying, Shino replied calmly. After all that has happened to him in this village when he was growing up, with the banishment being the final nail on the coffin, do you believe Naruto would want to return? I do not, and I don't think it's just his skill level that has changed over the years, and he won't take our attempts of bringing him back to his personal hell kindly. Shino brings up several good points, Jiraiya commented. Once everyone's attention was on him again, did the Toad Sage continued. And Tsunadeheim and I have taken them all into consideration, but there are also other variables we have to look into. One of them is a mercenary organization called Akatsuki. All of the members are S-rank missing nins in their own rights, 2 of the members being Kisame Hashigaki, a former member of the Seven Swordsmen of Kirigakure, and his partner, Itachi Uchiha. Sasuke winced at his brother's name. And my former teammate Orochimaru used to be a member. That shows how powerful this group is, and they're targeting Jinchuriki, people like Naruto with a bijou in them. Why we don't know, but whatever it is, it's not good. If they're targeting Naruto, then they're probably going after Jinchuriki from other villages, Niji commented. Which brings us to another reason why we need bring Naruto back, Jiraiya said. In popular cases, even in Konoha, Jinchuriki are seen as nothing more than weapons to be used in times of war. If a village loses their weapon, then they'll try other ways to still appear strong. One such case is capturing another Jinchuriki, and one that isn't affiliated to a village is a primary target. So far, Kiri still has the Rokubi with the Sanbai still out in the wild, though my network tells me that Akatsuki got it. Taki and Suna have the Nanabai and Ichibi respectively, while IWA has the Gobi in their village with the Yanbi wandering around. And Kumo has the Hachibi and Nibi, though recent rumors suggest that the Nibi Jinchuriki has gone missing. If these villages begin to feel vulnerable, then they'll definitely target Naruto. Bringing Naruto back to the village is for his own good. Yeah, but this sounds more than just about protecting Naruto from Akatsuki, but also to keep the balance of power between villages in check, Tenten summarized, feeling a little disgusted with that piece of info. Pretty much, Jiraiya said solemnly. He also noticed the upset looks on the younger shinobi's faces. Hey, I don't like it any more than you do, but in the long run it's for the best. Tsunadeheim already has a way of keeping Naruto safe from the hands of bounty hunters, Akatsuki, and anyone that would use him as a weapon. This will also be classified between everyone here, the other members of the retrieval team, Tsunadeheim, and the Shinobi Council. Any leakage of the mission will be dealt with extreme prejudice. Jiraiya said the last part hard with a bit of killing intent leaking out. Everyone nodded in understanding before someone decided to change the subject, the person being Sakura. Jiraiya-sama, in the book it mentioned that Naruto had a fifth unknown element. Would you know what it would be? She asked. Jiraiya gave a shared look to Kakashi, something that didn't go unnoticed by the others. I believe that Tsunadeheim should be saying this, but since she isn't here. That's why I came, said woman said as she suddenly appeared in the field beside her former teammate. Seeing the questioning look she got, Tsunade replied, I felt like I should come, seeing how it had to do with family. Family? Ino asked, confused. Tsunade let out a tired sigh before speaking. Who here has heard of the Uzumaki clan? She asked the group. That caught the younger members by surprise. Uzumaki clan? Are you saying Naruto is part of a clan? Choji asked. They must have not been pretty important if they weren't mentioned in the academy, Kiba commented, but flinched at the death glare he got from his Hokage. For your information, Kiba, my grandmother and wife of the Shodaime Hokage was an Uzumaki, making me a quarter Uzumaki, she yelled, feeling very offended by the comment from the Inuzuka. The next person to say something bad about them will end up the same as Jiraiya when he does something perverted in front of me. Total silence reigned in shortly afterwards. Good anyway, regarding to why they weren't mentioned in the academy's curriculum is due to some other forces, Swanda said before whispering to herself about damn elders and other things before continuing. But it will be dealt with in later time. The fact about the Uzumaki clan is that they were the cousin clan of the Senju clan, and in a way to the Uchiha clan due to distant origin of the three clans, but that also is for another time. The clan lived in the now abandoned, and may I add cut off, island called the Land of Whirlpools, where they lived in the village called Yuzushio. They were famous for their long lives, incredible stamina, and most of all their mastery in the arts of sealing and their bloodline of solid chakra-shaped manipulation. Their village was destroyed during the Third Shinobi War with the members scattered across the continent. The members were also known for their red hair. Well, that explains why Naruto changed his hair to red, probably to honor his clan. And those solid chakra chains of his, Sasuke added offhandedly. But what does that got to do with this fifth element of his? I was getting to that, Tsunade replied. Amongst the clan there was a member, a man, that stood out of all of them. He lived during the time of my grandfather and granduncle. The person's name was Sadahiko Uzumaki, and he was said to be even more powerful than my grandfather and Madara Uchiha combined. That caused everyone, minus Tsunade and Jiraiya, to form faces of shock all over them. Hashirama Senju, the Shodaime Hokage, and Madara Uchiha were men that were in levels beyond even the shinobi of today. Hell, a battle between the two was so great that it created a valley. To hear that there was a person who was stronger than the two combined was not just shocking but also scary too. Tsunade seemed to have figured what they were thinking. I know it's shocking, but apparently it's true. The reason I know is because Sadahiko was my grandmother's older brother, hence my other granduncle. And like my grandfather, Sadahiko was also born with an elemental bloodline unique only to him, one far greater than even Mokutan, Onmyotan. Onmyotan? Lee asked. It's the only chakra in nature that isn't an actual element, Jiraiya said this time. In fact, all non-elemental techniques utilize it. A lot of clan techniques also use Onmyotan, two prime examples being the Nara clan and the Akimichi clan. I'm getting the troublesome feeling that there is a difference between that and what this Sadahiko guy used, Shikamaru said. There is indeed a difference, Jiraiya said, confirming Shikamaru's theory. Sadahiko's Onmyotan bloodline is unlimited, the word being the correct choice to describe it. You unlimited? What does that mean? Hinata asked. Well, let's use the shadow techniques that the Nara clan uses as an example. Even though I said that it uses Onmyotan, it's still bound to techniques involving the Nara's shadow, Jiraiya said. However, Sadahiko could create anything out of anything or nothing, such as structures, forms of energy, weapons, and even techniques combining elements such as fire and lightning, he explained. I even heard from Mito Obasama that Sadahiko could create his own unique Bunshin clone, using Onmyotan chakra. It was a lot stronger than shadow clones since it wouldn't dispel upon impact and was almost like a living being, Tsunade added. The explanation left a silent, stunned group of listeners. They couldn't believe that such a thing existed. Something like that went beyond the realm of humans, it went into borderline godhood. And Naruto of all people had that ability, combined with his tenet's chakra and who knows what else he acquired over the years. That was a very formidable force to be reckoned with. I just have one question, Sasuke asked, breaking the silence. How is it that Naruto possesses the bloodline? While I understand that they're both from the same clan, that wouldn't mean he inherit the Onmyotan bloodline. The ability to create solid chakra structures, yes, but not Onmyotan. The reason is very simple, Tsunade replied. Though Sadahiko was my granduncle from my grandmother's side, Sadahiko is Naruto's great-grandfather from his mother's side. Again, everyone was shocked by this new piece of information, except this time Kakashi wasn't, though he did seem surprised about Naruto and Sadahiko's connection part, and not the mother part. Wait, Naruto's mom was an Uzumaki? What was she doing here in Konoha? Tenten asked. Tsunade and Jiraiya glanced at one another, a silent conversation going between the two. It was about a minute until Tsunade spoke again. What I'm about to tell you all is a secret greater than even Naruto's Jinchuriki status, though that wasn't a very well-kept secret anyway. Either way, this cannot be told to anyone else under the punishment of death, though in due time, depending on the outcome of this mission, I will release this information, so listen up. While this was happening, none of the people gathered there noticed two black dots sticking out from a rock watching them before disappearing. Land of Sound, Orochimaru's hideout. So the Kyuubi brat still lives there? The snake Sannin Orochimaru said to his right-hand man Kabuto Yakushi. Orochimaru had just recently learned about Naruto's status for quite a while, actually. 4 years ago, really. But at the time, Orochimaru only knew him under his alias as Kodama. It was really only a few weeks ago when Orochimaru discovered that the mysterious wandering Nin was really the banished Konoha genin. I admit I was surprised myself when I learned of it, Kabuto said to his master. But there is no mistake when looking at the photo we acquired, minus the change of hair color, it most certainly is Naruto-kun. He finished while pushing up his glasses. Though it is shocking of how far he's come from the dead last he was 6 years ago. That's true indeed, especially if he could escape a confrontation with someone like Kakashi uninjured. And according to recent reports, he managed to kill my former partner Sasori while saving the Godame Kazekage. Not an easy feat if I do say so myself, Orochimaru commented. But what really interests me is his Onmyotan bloodline. Combined with his clan's longevity and solid chakra shape manipulation, he could actually become the perfect next body. The snake Sannin murmured. Kabuto smirked. Given up on Sasuke-kun, Orochimaru-sama? He asked teasingly. Orochimaru chuckled. Oh no, I still have much interest in the Sharingan, but to be honest, I originally had a great interest in Sadahiko Uzumaki's elemental bloodline, Onmyotan. The ability to create anything from nothing was only something that could be done by the Rakuta Sannin who possessed the dojutsu, the Rinnegan. But like with Hashirama, it was not passed down to Sadahiko's children or grandchildren, and since I didn't know of Naruto-kun's relations to him, I forgot about it and focused on acquiring the Mokutan and later on the Sharingan. If I could have both, then I would be able to awaken an imperfect Rinnegan most likely, and gain what I originally desired, Orochimaru said. Imperfect Rinnegan? What do you mean, Orochimaru-sama? Wouldn't having the DNA of both the Senju clan and Uchiha clan allow you to awaken the Rinnegan? Kabuto asked confusedly. Not exactly, Orochimaru replied. You see, I've discovered that the sage actually had 3 children, all sons. The first and eldest son inherited the sage's eyes, large chakra and spiritual energy. The second and middle son inherited the sage's body, great life force and physical energy. And the youngest son inherited the sage's blood, enhanced instincts, and mental energy. The Sannin explained. Now the youngest is interesting because inheriting the sage's blood meant he also acquired his father's incredible stamina and life force, meaning long life. Orochimaru's smirk grew when he saw the look of realization appear on Kabuto's face. Yes, while the eldest founded the Uchiha clan, the middle founded the Senju clan, the youngest was the ancestor and founder of the Uzumaki clan. And while it's possible to awaken the Rinnegan with the DNA of just 2 of those clans, you need all 3 to grasp the Dojutsu's true power. I see, Kabuto murmured in understanding. But does that mean you'll be targeting Naruto-kun then? Since he has the bloodline you originally desired? He asked. Perhaps, Orochimaru replied while resting his head on his left fist. Though with him being the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, acquiring his body will be difficult if not impossible, especially with Akatsuki still after him. But we can capture him and find someone else, an Uzumaki like Karen, to place the Kyuubi in. That would be good. I would have an excellent new body and a Jinchuriki too. And if we can capture Sasuke-kun as a bonus, then that would work just as well, he said. So for now we'll keep our ears open for any other signs of Naruto-kun before going after him. I have no doubt Konoha will be looking for him too. Of course, Orochimaru-sama, Kabuto replied and then smirked. And speaking of Uzumaki, I may have found a solution to the problem concerning your hands, he said before pulling out a Henya-shaped mask from behind him. Spring Country Daimyo's Palace. So did everything go okay? Koyuki asked Naruto after said man was once more wearing more formal attires. The two were in one of the palace's lounges, with the only other person being there were some of Koyuki's guards and little Kiko, who was playing with some of Koyuki's old toys. She was sitting on the same couch as Naruto, so he could keep a close eye on his daughter. Pretty much, Naruto said as he picked up a block Kiko had dropped, giving it back to the girl. There was a lot of damage done to the village, but it could have been worse if not for Gaara. And what about Kazekage Dano? The Spring Daimyo asked. He woke up by the time I got there and was immediately swarmed by his family. Temari and Matsuri were really the only ones scolding him for giving them a scare, while Kankuro just watched on. Though Gakuto-chan and Kanna-chan cling on to him with no intention of letting go. Guess they were really scared, Naruto mused. Uncle Gaara hurt? Kiko asked as she looked up at her daddy worriedly. Naruto gave her a gentle smile before rubbing the top of her red-haired head comfortingly. No, Uncle Gaara is okay. But if it makes you feel better, we can write him a get-well card before we go tomorrow, he said kindly, getting a wide grin from Kiko. So you're leaving? Koyuki murmured a bit sadly. Naruto smiled apologetically. Yeah, it's not a good idea for us to stay in one place for so long. Especially now that both Konoha and Akatsuki know about me, and while I know you can do the whole politics thing with Konoha, Akatsuki could care less about that. Koyuki nodded somberly as Naruto turned his attention towards Kiko. The little girl had taken on a tired look, and Naruto believed it was time for bed, despite her complaints. However, the father and daughter pair soon headed for bed, after a quick goodnight to Koyuki, with Kiko resting her head on her father's right shoulder. She was soon changed into her yellow-colored pajamas with pictures of fox kits on it. Currently was Kiko sleeping in her bed, clutching her fox toy close to her, a content smile on her face. Naruto just stood above her, watching with kind eyes and a soft smile on his face. He leaned down and gave Kiko a soft kiss to the forehead before leaving the room. As he walked down the hallway towards his room, which was close to Kiko's, Yujin suddenly emerged from the ground. Not even startled by the man's sudden appearance, Naruto asked, "So, how did it go?" "It went well," Yujin replied as he pulled out 2 scrolls. "I managed to gain copies of multiple files from the root archives, including some of his dealings with Orochimaru, along with locations of his bases. That Danzo brat isn't very good at keeping them secured very well," the 1,000-year-old being commented offhandedly. Probably because he never expected for there to be someone like Yujin, Naruto mused. Anyway, anything else to report? Yes, while I was coming back I stopped by Konoha's ANBU training ground. Turns out it's being used by the team formed to retrieve you, which seems to consist of all your former classmates, plus Team Guy, their sensei, your old academy teacher, a female and male ANBU, the Tsunade's assistant, and finally your former godfather. Apparently they managed to put 2 and 2 together with your bingo book profile, Yujin said before pausing in case Naruto was going to say something. When he didn't, Yujin continued. It's a good chance that Jiraiya will have his network keep a sharp eye out for any sightings of you. I see, Naruto said after hearing all that. He turned his head towards the door that led to Kiko's room. Our plans remain unchanged. We'll leave tomorrow and meet up with Sadahiko Hijiji. It sounded like he had something important to talk about with me. Also, how are the repairs on that going? Pretty good, actually. I imagine that we can use it when we leave tomorrow, though I want to stop somewhere to put in the final touches before using it for long terms, Yujin reported before changing the subject. And what about this Konoha retrieval team? Yujin asked. I will stand by you on whatever your decision is, but the team consists of people you know. I know that you don't care about most of them, but I have to ask, What will you do if you're forced to confront them? Naruto was silent for a long time, his gaze never wavering away from his daughter's room. 1,000 thoughts were going through his head as Naruto thought about what he would do if he indeed ran into a confrontation with Konoha, and something told him he wouldn't be able to avoid it. Finally, after a minute or two of contemplating, the redhead finally spoke, his voice filled with seriousness. If we do run into them, I will do what is necessary, he said before walking off towards his room with Yujin just watching on. Naruto entered his room a while later and after removing his sandals, plopped into bed. But he didn't go to sleep right away. Instead, he took out a book he had sealed in a scroll of his he left on the bedside table. The book had a white back and front cover and was in pretty good condition despite how old it really was. Naruto had found it a year ago, and despite it being a poem book, it had somehow caught his interest. The title of the book was called Loveless. Naruto soon began to read from the beginning, a warm smile on his face as he did so. Prologue. When the War of the Beasts brings about the world's end. The goddess descends from the sky. Wings of light and dark spread afar. She guides us to bliss, her gift everlasting. Konoha. The rookie 12-Sai had all gathered at an Akimichi-owned barbecue restaurant. What would normally be a happy gathering of friends was right now one of serious grim silence. It had only been a few days since Tsunade had revealed Naruto's parentage to them, and they had all been sworn to keep it secret from the rest of the village. The consequences being death, no matter your status in the village. Needless to say, the bit of information, along with other stuff they learned, left the young shinobis pretty confused and conflicted too. Damn, I still can't believe it, Kiba muttered quietly so no one else but his friends could hear him. Who would have thought the dead last was the Yondaime Hokage's son? You know, if you look at the Yondaime's portrait carefully, you can actually see the resemblance, Choji said before taking a bite of his steak. And if you think about it, it makes sense, Shikamaru commented. Having someone who is related to the village's leader become the Jinchuriki is the best way to ensure their loyalty. And according to Jiraiya-sama, the Yondaime wasn't the kind of guy to ask anyone to make that kind of sacrifice. It didn't help Naruto-kun though, Hinata said, her voice surprisingly angry and no stuttering. Some genius the fourth was. Hinata! Ino gasped, unable to believe what the Hyuga heiress was saying. How can you say that about the Yondaime Hokage? And how can I not? She yelled, though she kept her voice down. The others were a little taken aback by the usually shy heiress's sudden outburst. The Yondaime foolishly asked for Naruto to be treated as a hero. As noble a wish that is, he, a supposed prodigy, should have known how the villagers would react when so many lives were lost. The Sandaime was an even bigger fool for following it, and not even trying to be there for Naruto-kun, and worse, keeping the truth of his parents away from him. He could have told Naruto-kun his mother's name if nothing else. And Jiraiya and Kakashi-sensei did nothing. They are even worse than trash, one doing nothing but acting as a worthless pervert, and the other wallowing in his past and guilt. Personally, I would just drop out of the mission, and just leave Naruto-kun be if he's happy outside the village. Hinata said, the last part she quivered a bit. But we're going to have to bring him back, Tenten said. It's for his own safety. With Akatsuki and other villages setting their eyes on him, he needs to be in Konoha so we can protect him. Indeed, we cannot allow those unyouthful people to apprehend Naruto-kun, Lee said, backing Tenten up. And I'm sure once we bring back Naruto-kun, he'll become his youthful self once more and all will be well again. Naruto won't see it that way, not one bit, Sasuke replied to Tenten and Lee's statement. Nor will Gaara or the other friends Naruto has. They'll only see it as Konoha trying to get their property back. Face it, Jinchuriki get the bad end of the deal no matter how you look at it. No offense, Lee, but the world isn't in black and white, Sasuke said to the bushy-browed Chunin before letting out a sigh. Sometimes I wonder what the Shodaime Hokage was thinking when he started handing out the bijou to villages. Logically, I'm not fully sure if this mission will even be a success, Shino said, adding his own 2 cents in. After hearing how Naruto took down Sasori of the Red Sand, an S-rank shinobi and member of Akatsuki, our odds of defeating him look bleak. Combined, he possesses a bloodline greater than the Mokutan, wielded originally by someone stronger than Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha combined, along with his tenant. The odds do not look well for us. I'm surprised that in none of the rumors or information from Suna about Sasori's demise mention Naruto's real identity. Or that the village doesn't already know about him being Kodama, Sakura replied. Apparently Hokage-sama and Jiraiya-sama are working overtime in making sure that Naruto's identity, or the fact he's alive, isn't revealed to the populace, since the reaction the village would have is obvious. So far the only people who know are the ones on the retrieval team, Hokage-sama, and the council, though the civilian side is being kept in the dark more or less about this, most likely under threat of severe punishment, Niji replied. The group fell into silence for a moment before shifting to other topics, unaware that their mission would soon begin in several hours. Underground root base. So you understand the details of your mission, Sai? Danzo asked the pale-skinned shinobi kneeling before him. Hi Danzo-sama. I am to retrieve the clone and if able to capture or kill Naruto Uzumaki, replied Sai in his usual monotone voice. Good, Danzo commented. While recovering the Jinchuriki would be a great boon for us, especially since he possessed Sadahiko-sama's bloodline, you're nowhere near his strength to be able to capture him, let alone kill him. If the retrieval team can detain him, then we'll use that opening. However, retrieving the clone is more important, especially to ensure we have a backup container that we can mold into our own accord. Danzo-sama, if I may ask, how did you came to learn of the girl? And for that matter, why do you expect she is with the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, let alone still alive? Sai asked with actual curiosity. I suppose since this is your assignment you should be made aware of such things, Danzo said nonchalantly. Do you know the man named Hiriko? Sai blinked. Hiriko? As in the close friend of the Sannin who fled the village several years ago, you mean? Weren't you in contact with him for some time? The artist shinobi replied. The very same, Danzo replied. 4 years ago I had received word from him that he had actually managed to capture the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. The reason he contacted me was that he wanted to make a deal with me, which was in return for keeping the boy's body for research to learn about the Uzumaki clan's bloodline, and to give him people with Kekei Jinaki. He would create a clone with Uzumaki DNA and give it to me to become to new Kyuubi Jinchuriki after Uzumaki died. While I did not fully trust him to keep his end of the bargain, I knew I could not pass up such an opportunity. Half a year later I sent a contingency of root agents to the Hiriko's hideout to pick up the clone, who by then should have had the Kyuubi sealed in it, and maybe recovered the boy's body too. But when they arrived the facility was deserted. Danzo explained. Hiriko escaped? Sai asked, thinking that was the most likely outcome. But Danzo shook his head. No, my agents actually found his body in there along with the rest of his subordinates. None of the prisoners were there and neither were any of their bodies. From surviving cameras the agents had learned Naruto Uzumaki somehow managed to escape, and what I assume was some kind state of rage he slaughtered Hiriko and his men, freed the prisoners and took the first and only born clone, a female clone to be exact. Danzo replied. But how can you be sure that the clone survived? Or that Naruto even took it with him? Sai asked again. Hiriko's notes managed to survive Uzumaki's rampage, and we learned that Hiriko was successful in creating a single clone that possessed a natural human lifespan, in Uzumaki standards that is. Plus Uzumaki is not the kind of person to abandon someone, even if their birth is unnatural. And since the clone is technically his child, Uzumaki would no doubt feel responsible and take care of it. Sai just nodded, satisfied with those answers. Very well, now head towards the Hokage Tower. You need to be ready for the mission. And remember, your primary objective is retrieving the clone, with Uzumaki being the secondary objective. The rest of the team will handle that. While I have no doubt that Uzumaki will make them work for it, Jiraiya and Kakashi should be able to capture him, but I want you to focus on recovering the clone so that way Konoha can have a spare container for the Kyuubi just in case Uzumaki is killed or is unable to be controlled. Danzo ordered. Hi Danzo-sama, Sai said and then vanished with a shunshin. Just a few seconds later another person appeared behind Danzo, a man with midlong orange hair tied in a ponytail. Fu? What is it? Danzo asked. A/N. I gave him the extra U so as to not confuse him with Fu the Nanabai Jinchuriki. Fu bowed his head regretfully. Danzo-sama, we discovered that there was some kind of breach in our archives. Several documents have been taken apparently for several days or more. Fu reported. Danzo's lone eye widened in shock, something rare considering how skilled he was in hiding his emotions, as he looked at Fu. What? How is that possible? And why did no one notice their disappearance? Danzo demanded. My apologies, Danzo-sama. The security cameras hadn't caught anything and whoever did it was so careful that we hadn't noticed any differences. Fu replied. Irritated that such a thing happened, Danzo quickly asked. What documents were stolen? The documents taken were mostly those related to your dealings with Orochimaru as well as Hiriko and details of missions carried out against other villages without the Hokage's approval. Fu said. Toryun and a team of some of our best trackers are trying to figure out and track down the thief. Tell Toryun that he must hurry efforts and I want a report of anything he discovers right away. Danzo ordered the root agent. Hi Danzo-sama. Fu said and vanished, leaving an angry and concerned elder. How could someone sneak in here and steal so many documents without us noticing? Danzo asked himself furiously. But the bigger question is who took them? Could it have been Tsunade? No, if it was her she would have acted by now. It couldn't have been Orochimaru. I've changed the security when he was last in the village. Furthermore, I see no reason for him to do it. But if those documents do reach Tsunade, she would have enough proof to accuse me of treason for going against hers and Hiruzen's authority. And if those documents reach the other villages, then they'll raze Konoha to the ground unless Tsunade declares me a traitor in order for them to focus their rage on me. Either way, it might be wise for me to prepare to leave Konoha for a while. The next day, Hokage Tower. The retrieval team was gathered on the roof of the Hokage Tower, with Tsunade and Jiraiya standing before them, serious look on their faces. Tsunade spoke first. Yesterday, Jiraiya's network managed to get a positive sighting of Naruto. He was seen in a port town in Fire Country in the east, picking up supplies before taking a boat, which we believe he owns, and headed out towards the ocean. The Hokage said before Jiraiya took over. My contact actually owns a small fishing company, and told me that one of his employees out at sea saw the kid taking the boat towards the island of the war gods. Jiraiya finished with a slight twitch of the eye. This did not go unnoticed by the others, and the younger members saw, much to their confusion, that the older shinobi seemed to have gone pale a bit. Clearly there was something bad about this island. That island actually exists? Kakashi asked, hesitation in his voice, a rare thing to come from the usually lazy and carefree Jonin. Apparently so, Jiraiya replied, not liking it either. What's the deal with this island of the war gods? Tenten asked the question, going through the minds of the younger members of the retrieval team. It's a piece of land that was under the watch of the Uzumaki clan before the fall of Uzushio. Jiraiya said before adding, it's also like a larger version of the Valley of the End. It took a moment for the last words and the significance behind them before the eyes of the rookie 12 widened to the size of dinner plates, and a few went so pale that it matched size. It was Choji who finally said, why you saying that? Yes, just like how the Valley of the End was formed from the battle between Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha, the Island of the War Gods was formed due to a battle between Sadahiko Uzumaki and a person named Hachiro Kishin of the Kishin clan. That person was the only who could match Sadahiko in terms of power and skills. Jiraiya summarized. The details of the battle itself are scarce besides Sadahiko winning, but the island used to be part of Fire Country before separating as a result of their fight. The Kishin clan? Shino asked, shivering slightly at the ominous feeling upon saying the name. I never heard of that clan before. What? We're getting off topic. Tsunade interrupted the bug user, her voice sounding like she didn't want to discuss anything about that clan. The fact is that we don't know much about the island, including the layout, environment, and whatever or whoever occupies it. But it can be assumed that Naruto might know more about it since the Uzumaki clan only allowed their own members to enter it. I know I don't have to express the seriousness of the fact we don't know anything about the island. Tsunade finished. The entire team understood what she meant by that. A major advantage of a battle was to know the environment you were fighting in. If a shinobi knew the field, then they could fight better and maybe use it against their enemy, because if they didn't, then they were already dead. It was even more crucial when a shinobi was taking on a retrieval mission, so that way the hunter wouldn't become the hunted. Beside being prepared for anything on the island, we must also be prepared in the event Akatsuki shows. Jiraiya added. Either way, we won't have a better chance than this, so don't do anything half-assed. Tsunade said. Jiraiya shall be put in charge of the mission as explained before, with Kakashi acting as second in command. They along with Tenzo are the only three are the best chance of subduing Naruto without causing much damage. Also, in the event that either or all of them are killed, you are to disengage and fall back, understood? Hi, everyone said in return. Half an hour later, the retrieval mission took off towards the eastern coast of Fire Country. The plan was to make their way there before acquiring boats towards the island. Currently, as they jumped through trees, Shino approached Jiraiya, who was at the head of the group. Pardon me, Jiraiya-sama, but I am curious as to why Tsunade-sama seemed so nervous about talking about the Kishin clan? Everyone, minus Jiraiya, who was facing forward, gave Shino a look. But it was Jiraiya who asked. Well, why are you so curious, Shino? Naruto currently possessed a bloodline that belonged to a man who was stronger than both the Shodaime Hokage and Madara Uchiha combined, and he may very well be at their level. To hear that there was someone who could face someone as strong as Sadahiko Uzumaki is concerning. Shino answered. Everyone looked at Jiraiya, who still hadn't turned to face Shino. Finally, after a minute, the Toad Sage let out a sigh. The Kishin clan, if there was ever a clan to be called evil, it would be them. During the time before villages were formed, a time when clans fought one another for land and power, the Kishin clan were partially responsible for those numerous conflicts, as well various lords hiring clans. They had conquered many lands back then, and in fact a lot of the minor countries of today were formed due to the Kishin clan taking various pockets of land from the 5 larger countries. Jiraiya said. How could a single clan take so much land from other clans and lords? Sakura asked, shocked to hear that a majority of minor countries were formed due to a single clan conquering lands. From what Sensei told me, the Kishin clan was different. Besides being one of the oldest clans in history, they were also the numerous. I heard that they could absorb natural energy and use it for techniques. Along with that, each member had an ability unique only to themselves. Jiraiya's voice suddenly turned grim. The fact that they would openly conquer pockets of land is enough to say about them. They were cruel to anyone outside their clan and were merciless in battle, sparing almost no one whether they were shinobi or not, and a lot of clans were also wiped out by them. As their names say, you could almost call them actual demons. The Shodaime Hokage was killed by them too. There was a moment of silence after hearing Jiraiya's explanation. To hear there was such a clan, both powerful and heartless, almost made Orochimaru sound like a saint. And to hear that they killed Hashirama Senju, a powerful shinobi, was not only scary but also explained why Tsunade didn't want to talk about them. What happened to them? Hinata asked nervously. They were wiped out. Jiraiya replied automatically. There were actually a few sighs of relief released unconsciously by the others. Apparently they were wiped out sometime after the 5 major villagers were formed but before the first Shinobi War. Numerous clans, mostly ones that are now part of Konoha, allied together to wipe them out, and the force was actually led by the Uzumaki clan, who were the first people to see how much of a threat the Kishin clan were to the world. I never seen a member for myself, and Sensei wasn't even in his 20s when he saw his first one, and he openly said that he was glad they were wiped out. Jiraiya said, surprising the others, especially Asuma. His father had always been a pacifist by nature, and it was the first time Asuma had ever heard that his father was glad that someone was dead, let alone an entire clan. Do you think they'll ever come back? Choji asked. I hope not, Jiraiya replied. While there is a good chance that if you survived the genocide, in all honesties I really hope they never come back. After that the Toad Sage went silent, and the rest of the journey continued on as such. Unknown location. The lifeless form of Yujito-ni, Kunoichi of Kumogakure and Jinchuriki of the Nibi, fell on the ground right beside the corpse of Rashi, a Jonin of the Wagakure, and the Jinchuriki of the Yanbi. Above them the last bits of the Nibi's chakra went into the mouth of the Gedamazo with the holographic images of the Akatsuki, minus Haiden and Kakuzu, stood on separate fingers. Haiden cracked his neck. Fuck, that was tiring as shit. The Jashin worshipper commented. I have to agree with that, sealing 2 bijou in a row is exhausting. Kisame's holograph added. Now we have sealed 3 bijou, all that remains are the Ichibi, Gobi, Rokubi, Nanabi, Hachibi and Kyubi. Pain said. Then he looked at Setsu. How goes locating the Kyubi? We got lucky, White Setsu replied. We spotted him stopping at a port in Fire Country before taking a boat and heading off towards one of the nearby islands. Where was he heading? Pain asked. We couldn't tell for sure, but it looks like he was heading towards one of the islands near the old land of whirlpools. The island of war gods, Black Setsu answered. That island actually exists? Itachi asked, his voice holding both shock and amazement in it. A few members even gave the Uchiha looks, surprised by the rare show of emotions from Itachi. Anyway, we tried but couldn't get on the island. Looks like the seals, the Uzumaki clan, were interfering a bit, White Setsu said, having gotten out of his shock. Also, it seems like Jiraiya's network spotted him too, because the Sannin is heading there along with a large group of Konoha shinobi, some of them being Kakashi Hatake, Asuma Sarutobi and Sasuke Uchiha. Black Setsu said. There was a small movement from Itachi at the mention of his younger brother's name, but this time no one saw it. Jiraiya, Kakashi, Asuma and the Jinchuriki both have high bounties in the black markets. I wouldn't mind coming to collect them, Kakuzu said. Hell yeah, for once I agree with you, Kakuzu. Those people would be a great sacrifice to Jashin-sama. I should go. I still have a bone to pick with that brat, Deidara yelled, now complete with 2 arms, courtesy of Kakuzu. Yeah, because of the Kyubi Jinchuriki, we lost the Ichibi that Deidara-senpai worked hard to get, Tobi, Deidara's new partner, said. You almost got blown up by him too, Deidara-senpai, remember? Shut it, Tobi, I don't need you to remind me, Deidara yelled at his childish partner. The IWA bomber had not forgotten how close he was to death because of Naruto. He had barely managed to jump off his clay bird and used it to take most of the Katon technique that Naruto had used. Deidara had still been burned a bit, but managed to survive it and his crash landing afterwards. But now he was thinking he should have just gotten himself killed, then deal with his new idiot partner. Hey, the Kyubi Jinchuriki was originally our target, Kisame interjected while Itachi remained silent. Besides, according to Zetsu and his bingo book profile, the kid's gotten pretty good with the sword. I bet he will be an interesting opponent to fight. Enough, the voice of Pain echoed through the cave, silencing the others. Once all focus was on him did he speak again. Conan and I will go to capture the Jinchuriki. Itachi, Kisame, Deidara and Tobi will come as well to deal with the Konoha shinobi along with whatever else might be there. Zetsu will also come too, since once we enter the island he can act as link for communication. What the fuck? I mean, I get why Itachi and Kisame would go, but why the fuck Deidara and Tobi? Haiden yelled in annoyance. Deidara's skill in long-range attacks will be useful against numerous opponents. Besides, Zetsu has also learned that the Hachibi has left Kumo to train the mountains. The Jinchuriki is known to be able to fully control his bija at a level equal to the Yondaime Mizukage. Yours and Kakuzu's unique skills will be useful in capturing the Jinchuriki, Pain explained. Knowing that once the leader's mind was set that nothing could change it, Haiden relented. Fine, but how the hell are you going to get on the fucking island? Didn't those Uzumaki people put a shitload of seals to protect it or some kind of crap? I'll worry about that, Pain said right away. You and Kakuzu prepare to head towards Lightning Country, and the rest of you meet at our outpost in the eastern shore of Fire Country. We'll rendezvous there and then head towards the island. And with that, the images of Akatsuki, minus Kakuzu and Haiden, vanished. With Orochimaru. The Uzumaki boy is on the island of war gods. Orochimaru asked his right-hand man. Yes, Orochimaru-sama, our spy, confirmed it after seeing Naruto-kun take a boat out there. Kabuto replied to his master. I've always been curious to see what the island looked like. A mass of land formed from a battle by two gods amongst men has always intrigued me. Orochimaru mused. Another of our spies reported that they saw Jiraiya heading towards the port where Naruto-kun was at. And he had a large group of Konohanin with him, one of them Sasuke-kun. Kabuto mentioned. That piqued Orochimaru's interest even more. I believe I will go see it for myself. This is a good chance for me to acquire an Anmaitan user and the Sharingan. Plus we can eliminate that annoying former teammate of mine for good, and I can stretch my legs or hands in this case. Orochimaru chuckled as he flexed his now working fingers again. I doubt getting on the island will be as simple as it sounds. Kabuto mused. True, perhaps we should bring Karen with us. Her Uzumaki blood might be key for us to get on it. Orochimaru said. Shame that Guren is no longer with us, she would have been of great assist to us. We could never find her or the Yukimura boy after the whole fiasco with the standby 3 years ago. Indeed, her bloodline would be quite useful, Kabuto said with mock kindness. In truth, he and the crystal user had never gotten along, and he was quite glad she was dead, and Orochimaru knew it but found it amusing rather than annoying. Yes, though I can always summon those four if the situation gets bad, Orochimaru said with a sinister grin, since his hands weren't the only things he recovered when he used the Shinigami mask. Forming several hand seals and then slamming both hands on the ground, 4 coffins popped out of the ground before Orochimaru and Kabuto. Each one had a number on them, with them being 1 to 4 from left to right. The island of the war gods. If there was one thing that the island wasn't, it was being a vacation resort. The mass of land was the size of a small country, with several jagged rocks sticking out from the water around it, going for about 2 or 3 miles. There were only a few sandy beaches, but the outer layer of the island was more or less covered by large rock formations that stuck out from the island. And the interior wasn't the least bit comforting, for it was filled with trees so high that it almost looked like they reached the heavens. Many of them were grouped together or overlapping with each other, while those that were separated was because of large rock formations in between them. Combined with the animals that lived on it, the island's title was well deserved, for it was an impressive and fearsome island to behold. Currently, the sound of a hammer hitting a nail could be heard throughout the island. Deep within the middle eastern part of the island was Yujin on top of a large metal contraption using his head, which had morphed into hammer. He was working on something that couldn't be seen due to the large trees that blocked said item's image. However, whatever it was clearly frustrated Yujin, since the 1,000-year-old being suddenly cried, hands flailing in the air, "It's so extensive!" he yelled dramatically. Of course it is, you idiot! It's meant to be a freaking country that can fly, Naruto shouted back from his spot on a tree branch. He had just returned with some supplies and put them in their mobile home storage room before exiting it, and had heard Yujin's cries. Anyway, didn't you say that you were almost done with the repairs? Naruto asked as he shifted the large scroll he had strapped to his back. He also had his Loveless book in his rear waist bag. The repairs have been done for a while, Yujin replied. But that's not the problem, it's the power source. Remember, this thing was using an evil spirit as its power source before. So now I have to replace it with something that's more infinite, safe and less alive, and likely feed off our negative emotions. Good point, Naruto commented. Anyway, I'm leaving Kiko-chan in her room with Seoku, left wing, and Yuku, right wing. But you managed to get the security system you made up and working, right? Naruto asked. Well, I managed to get up those cloaking seals you set up to work, Yujin commented as his left hand turned back into a hammer. And those Genjutsu seals you put inside to confuse any intruders until my clones take care of them. But the rest need the new power source I'm putting in. And I still got to fill the thing up after we tested it coming here, and that will take about an hour for it to be done. We wouldn't have to charge it up for so long if you had just let us stop at Hot Water Country.